and brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in partnership with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. A warm welcome to you, and we are glad that you are joining us for these proceedings. What you are seeing on your screens currently, that is the Senate chambers. Members in no time will be making their way inside, of course, to get ready for the sitting. That is the Tana River Senator with his colleague also have already gotten to the chambers. As we wait for the time for the sitting, we shall take a look at the business that the members will be transacting this afternoon. In the order of business, the members will be considering a motion regarding the approval of Senate nominees for appointment to the Board of Trustees for the post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament. This is a post-retirement medical scheme that will be looking at securing the lawmakers' healthcare needs after exiting parliamentary service. And this is a motion that will be moved by the Senate Majority Leader. This follows resolutions of Parliamentary Service Commission on the 23rd of June 2025 with respect to the trust deed and rules for post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament. And in this case, the Senate has appointed Senator Justice Retired Stuart Madzayo, who is the Senator for Kilifi County, and nominated Senator Esther Okenyuri to be members of the Board of Trustees for the post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament. These were also considerations that were done at the Members' Welfare Committee in Parliamentary Service Commission, of course, underscoring the scheme's benefits and also urging the senators to sign up, stressing the need that it is a critical safety net for the members' future. So that is a motion that the members will this afternoon be looking at as part of the business that is lined up for consideration. A motion that seeks to approve Senate nominees for appointment to the Board of Trustees for the post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament, a scheme that will be securing the healthcare needs of the members of the Senate after exiting parliamentary service. If you're just joining us, is that the House is about to commence its business. 2:30 is the time allocated for the sitting. We can see a few members have already made their way into the chamber. What you're seeing on your screen currently, that is the entrance into the Senate chambers. In a short while also, we should be expecting the procession of the Speaker to also be making its way into the chamber. And once the business is ready to take off, then we shall be able to hand you over back to listen in. But until then, we shall continue to take a look at the business that the members will this afternoon be transacting. Two bills whose debate has been done conclusively or comprehensively on the floor of the House: the County Allocation of Revenue Bill, as well as the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, bills originating from the Senate, bills that concern counties on matters monies for the 2025-2026 financial year. You will recall that the monies that are going to the county following the mediation resolutions that were made is a total of 415 billion. And there was also a formula that was established under which the monies shall be shared among the counties. With regards to the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, this includes monies that are going to various areas in various counties, areas that have been termed marginalized. This is a total of 16.8 billion that will be shared among constituencies in various counties where they are meant to address concerns or shortages around electricity, among other basic or essential services that these counties that are termed as marginalized, or these areas that are termed as marginalized, still have an issue with. So these two counties, these two bills, debate on them were done conclusively this afternoon. These bills will be going into division. They are at their second reading stage, and therefore this afternoon the members will be voting on them for them to be read a second time, and that will give room or pave way for them to also proceed into the next stage, that is consideration at the Committee of the Whole House. This is where, if there are any amendments that were made by the members of the Senate during the consideration as debate was taking place, that is the stage that those considerations will be taken up. That is the Speaker's procession making its way into the chamber. Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Jeffa Kingi. He will be presiding over this afternoon sitting. Allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast brought to you by PBU in partnership with KBC. My name is Kamche Menza. Good afternoon.
Na tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, twakusihi ututazame kwa neema nyingi na baraka, sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita kwa nyadhifa za uongozi katika jamhuri hii yetu. Twakuomba utuajalie tuyatende na kufikia mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Clerk, do we have quorum? Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
Well, the House is about to commence its business. A quorum hitch has been commence, or the sitting of the House cannot commence yet until that quorum is raised, at least 15 senators. The prayer has already been said and the chair taken, but the business is failing to commence owing to that quorum hitch. And currently is a quorum bell underway. This is to at least alert the members of the Senate who may be within the precincts of Parliament to be able to hasten their steps and get to the chambers to join their colleagues and also enable the House attain or raise that much needed quorum for the business to be able to commence as well as continue. Remember, if that quorum is not raised at the lapse of the first quorum bell, a second round of a 10-minute quorum bell will be on, And if that lapses without any quorum being achieved, then that risks the House being adjourned until the next sitting. So we shall be keeping tabs, of course, on the numbers of the senators. Senator Esther Kinyuri has made her way into the chamber, of course, joining her colleagues for the business that is lined up for consideration or to be transacted this afternoon. A full entry. There are bills that are to be considered at the committee of the whole. Also bills to go into division. Remember, at the division stage, the members will be needing at least a substantive number of members inside for that particular stage to be done. And if the quorum is not raised and also sustained to this particular business, then these two bills, as I had indicated earlier, the County Allocation of Revenue Bill and the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, may not be able to be transacted. Regarding motions, the motion by the Honorable Senator for Taita Taveta, Honorable Jonas Mwaruma, regarding the establishment of national teaching and referral hospitals in Kenya is also part of the business that the members, as they convene this afternoon for this sitting, will be considering. This is a motion that the Senate will be urging the Ministry of Health to establish national teaching and referral hospitals in the coast region, the eastern region, the northeastern Nyanza, as well as western regions, and also not just establishing but also equipping fully the national teaching and referral hospitals personnel, as well as the county governments to also allocate more funds to their respective health dockets. You recall that the health sector is a devolved function. So this particular motion, much as the Ministry of Health will be establishing these national teaching and referral hospitals and also equipping them with modern medical equipment as well as medical supplies and personnel, the county governments also have a mandate, including to allocate more funds to their respective health dockets to adequately facilitate their county level 5 and level 6 hospitals in order to enhance provision of critical health services to reduce the demand for such services from the national teaching and referral hospitals. The mover of this motion backs up the proposal in that the country has 5 national teaching and referral hospitals, with Kenyatta University Research and Teaching Hospital in Kiambu County and Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, being the only ones outside Nairobi County. The bed capacity, medical equipment, human capital in these national teaching and referral hospitals. Allow me to hand you over.
Seats. Clerk, kindly call the first order.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages.
Now, Honourable Senators, I wish to report to the Senate that pursuant to Standing Order 46.3, I received a message from the Speaker of the National Assembly regarding the passage by the National Assembly of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2025. The message, dated Wednesday, 2nd July 2025, was received in the office of the Clerk of the Senate on the same date, while the Senate was on recess. Now, pursuant to Standing Order 46.5, I now report the message. Pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 41.1 and 142 of the National Assembly Standing Orders, I hereby convey the following message from the National Assembly. Whereas the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 4 of 2025, was published via Kenya Gazette Supplement number 22 on 26th of February 2025 to amend the Constitution of Kenya to entrench the National Government Constituencies Fund, Senate Oversight Fund, and the National Government Affirmative Action Fund. And whereas the National Assembly considered the said bill and passed it with the support of more than 2/3 of all the members of the National Assembly, and the second and third readings on Tuesday, 1st July 2025 in the form attached hereto. Further, whereas as at the time of the introduction of the bill in the National Assembly, the co-sponsors of the bill had indicated that Senator Hilary Sigei MP and Senator Danson Mungatana MP will co-sponsor and be in charge of the bill in the Senate. Now, therefore, in accordance with the provisions of Article 256 of the Constitution and Standing Orders 41 and 142 of the National Assembly Standing Orders, I hereby refer the bill to the Senate for consideration. Now, Honourable Senators, Standing Order 163.1 requires that a bill which originates in the National Assembly be proceeded with in the manner as a bill introduced in the Senate by way of first reading in accordance with Standing Order 144. Accordingly, I direct that the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 4 of 2025 be listed in the order paper for first reading at the appropriate time. Further, since the bill seeks to amend the Constitution of Kenya by parliamentary initiative, the provisions of Article 256 of the Constitution and Standing Order 140 shall apply in the processing of the bill in the Senate. The House is guided accordingly. I thank you. Next order.
Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
The Chairperson Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations. Senator Abbas.
Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, 17 July 2025. Report of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on its consideration of the Office of the County Attorney Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 47 of 2024. Thank you.
Senator Catherine Muma.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 17th July 2025. Report of the Parliament of Kenya delegation to the 2025 hearing at the Interparliamentary Union held at the United Nations in New York, United States of America on 13th to 14th February 2025.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Oh, okay. Mr. Speaker, I rise to give notice of the following motion, which is approval of Senate nominees for the appointment to the Board of Trustees for the Post-Service Medical Scheme for Members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion that pursuant to the resolution of the Parliamentary Service Commission on the 23rd of June 2025, with respect to the trust deed and rules for post-service medical scheme, Stewart Mazayo and Senator Esio Kenyuri to the Board of Trustees for the post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament.
Senator Alan Chesang.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice to the following motion that the Senate adopts the report of the Mediation Committee of the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2025, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 16th July 2025, and that pursuant to Article 1132 of the Constitution and Standing Order 167.3 of the Senate, approves that the mediation version of the bill. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Catherine Muma.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that the Senate notes the report of the Parliament of Kenya delegation to the 2025 hearing of the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, held at the United Nations in New York, United States of America, on 13th to 14th February 2025, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 17th July 2025.
Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Statements pursuant to Standing Order 52.1. Senator Essie Wakenyuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a statement on a matter of international concern on the World Expo 2025 in Osaka, Japan. Mr. Speaker, to make a statement on a matter of international concern regarding the World Expo 2025. Mr. Speaker, sir, World Expos, officially known as International Registered Exhibitions, are global platforms where nations converge to explore solutions to the world's most pressing challenges through engaging and immersive experiences. They attract tens of millions of visitors, enable countries to build iconic pavilions, and leave lasting legacies in host cities. The first World Expo was held in 1851 in London, and since then, 36 have taken place. These expos have grown to become unparalleled global events in terms of size, scale, duration, and attendance. Since Expo 2000 Hanover, they have been held every 5 years, with the last one hosted in Dubai in 2021, delayed due to COVID-19. Mr. Speaker, sir, World Expo 2025 is currently underway in Osaka, Kansai, Japan, under the theme, Designing Future Society of Our Lives. It actually runs from 13th of April to 13th of October 2025, featuring 158 countries, 7 international organizations, and millions of global attendees. Kenya is proud to be among the participating nations. By the end of June 2025, over 700,000 visitors had toured Kenya's pavilion, including Princess Aiko, the eldest daughter of Japan's Emperor and Empress. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to commend the following for the exemplary efforts in showcasing Kenya on the world stage. Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. Ms. Regina Ombam, the Principal Secretary, State Department of Trade. Mr. John Olutua, the Principal Secretary, State Department of Tourism. And Ms. Floyce Mukabana, the CEO, Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, KEPROBA. During Kenya's National Day of Honor on the 24th of June 2025, guests received Kenyan flowers, drawing widespread admiration for their scent and quality. This gesture created long queues at our pavilion and revived interest in Kenya's floriculture sector, which had suffered during the pandemic. I'm confident this exposure will help reclaim our market share in Japan. Kenyan tea was also served, and cultural performances celebrated in richness of our heritage. Videos featuring our tourist attractions from Masai Mara to the coastal beaches offered visitors a glimpse of Kenya's beauty. Mr. Speaker, sir, while Kenya's presence was commendable, more can be done. Notably, Keproba must be adequately funded to ensure Kenya secures independent pavilions in future expos. Unlike Kenya, countries such as Egypt, Angola, and Mozambique had standalone pavilions, allowing them greater freedom to tell their national stories. At the Kenya-Japan High-Level Business Forum, it was noted that the current trade imbalance, which is on a ratio of 1:18 in favor of Japan, needs to be addressed. A major obstacle to agricultural exports is the lack of a direct cargo flight. Transshipment often compromises the freshness and quality of farm produce due to temperature fluctuations. Tourism is another area where we can gain. Sadly, gate fees at the Masai Mara recently rose from 9,000 shillings to 27,000 shillings for foreign tourists, which has pushed many Japanese tourists to Tanzania. And in 2024, Tanzania received 5.2 million tourists compared to Kenya's 2.4 million tourists, reversing our pre-COVID lead. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we look ahead to World Expo 2030 in Saudi Arabia, preparations must begin now. Kenya will have another opportunity to showcase its tea, coffee, nuts, flowers, and even emerging exports like avocados. I thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator for Nairobi City County.
Speaker, thank you for your kind indulgence to allow me to read this statement on the welfare of staff who work for Chandarana Food Plus supermarket chain. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52.1 to make a statement on a matter of general topical concern, namely the welfare and general working conditions of staff at the Chandarana Food Plus chain of supermarkets, especially at their Diani branch. Mr. Speaker, my office has received a complaint from staff at the retailer alleging cases of mistreatment, discrimination.
Order, honorable senators. May the Senator for Nairobi City County be heard in silence, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My office has received a complaint from staff at the retailer alleging cases of mistreatment, discrimination, harassment, racism, and unlawful termination of contracts, a clear pointer to levels of illegality and poor welfare at one of the biggest supermarket chains in the country. I feel obliged, therefore, to speak out on the matter because it may be a microcosm of a larger problem within not just the retail sector but across the low-income demographic in the entire country. Mr. Speaker, for a long time, Kenyan low-income earners have, in a desperate attempt to earn an honest living, endured horrible working conditions and unimaginable abuse from many employers and organizations. Many of these go unreported, but with this silence, their cancer metastasizes into a national disaster needing urgent mitigation. Needless to say, low-income earners are the drivers of the economy, and their contribution to the GDP and the national growth cannot be gainsaid. Despite this reality, this demographic is also the most vulnerable to poor conditions of working and weak employment safeguards, and is generally prone to bear injustice without requisite support from the authorities. Mr. Speaker, sir, Article 41 of the Kenyan Constitution prohibits discrimination in recruitment, promotion, pay and conditions of work. Further, the Employment Act 2007 guarantees every worker access to fair labor practices, fair remuneration, and reasonable working conditions, as it clearly defines the fundamental rights of employees. However, there exist wide implementation and policy gaps when it comes to private sector, and when it comes to these laws being put in practice to protect workers. Indeed, a large section of the private sector remains weak on implementation of employment laws and subsequent protection of the working public. The exploitation must be addressed in its entirety and the root causes remedied immediately. Mr. Speaker, sir, apart from cases of workplace harassment being a hidden phenomenon in many of the establishments where the public moves in and out, nearly all of us have at some point encountered employees undergoing overt harassment by their employers. 62 years after independence, it is time to put our collective foot down and squarely tackle the mistreatment of low-income earners, especially in the retail chain sector. It behooves investors running businesses in the country to treat their local staff with dignity, just like it is our collective responsibility as Kenyans to create an enabling atmosphere that promotes thriving enterprise in the country as a key cog in employment. It is immoral to simply expect to have a nation of loyal taxpayers without that labor resource being nurtured and protected as the goose that lays the golden egg. Mr. Speaker, sir, I call upon the Ministry of Labour, trade unions and elected leaders to fearlessly speak out for workers facing such difficulties regardless of the sector they work in. It is important to note that the fear of victimization is a major cause of silence among victims, and it is imperative for leaders to bridge that gap by being firm and principled on the side of justice for the underprivileged. I further call upon the owners and the management of Chandarana Food Plus chain of supermarkets to address the matter of discrimination and harassment not only at their Diani branch, but in all their units across the country. This is a responsibility bestowed by law and by fair labor practices. I also wish to urge Parliament to work towards tightening laws whose weak implementation tends to open the door for such employee mistreatment within the workforce. Together, we must protect the low-income earners in the country from further exploitation. I thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Apologies, Speaker. A statement by the Majority Leader regarding the business of the week that commences on the 22nd of July 2025, pursuant to Standing Order number 57-1. Mr. Speaker, this is the status of legislative business for that week. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have 59 bills, of which 40 are the second reading and 19 are at the committee of the whole stage pending consideration. There are 32 motions, Mr. Speaker, 3 of which are pursuant to Standing Order number 238, all of which have been discussed and are now pending conclusion. Further, Mr. Speaker, we have 28 petitions that are pending conclusion by respective committees, and like I observed last week, 19 of them, Mr. Speaker, are due for reporting already. So I want to request the chairpersons who are in the House, and I can see a number of them, Senator Faki, Senator Issa, I think Senator Muma, quite a number of them, and perhaps some are seated behind me, that I cannot see them, Mr. Speaker. If you're chairperson of a committee and you have a petition that is due for reporting, we are being very unfair to the citizens that petition this House, because they do so believing that we can deliver justice expeditiously, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I hope that we can do that, Mr. Speaker, because that is part of our constitutional mandate. Mr. Speaker, we had an interesting one last week, the one by Mr. Musundi, Mr. Speaker, which we are already counting the 30 days because we continue to see that violation. It was quite tragic, Mr. Speaker. Not tragic, but poetic injustice, not justice this time. Because I spoke about it, and on Friday, last week, I went to a function, Mr. Speaker, I was a chief guest, and the member of the National Assembly had actually branded a photo of themselves on that particular bus. I almost asked them to remove it, but then I figured the 30 days are not yet over. So I hope Secretariat, Mr. Speaker, are following up on the resolution of that matter. I was just making that point, Mr. Speaker, to remind our chairpersons on the importance citizens attach to this House, especially with regards to petition. There is a reason why this House receives almost 3 times the number of petitions that our counterpart House, more than our counterpart House, Mr. Speaker. So I want to request of our chairpersons, please don't let that very stellar performance and good record of this House disappear. Honorable Senators will also note that as indicated in Order number 10 and 11 in today's order paper, 2 bills are scheduled for division at the second reading stage. Further, at Order number 12, the President's reservations to the Conflict of Interest Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2023, are equally scheduled for division at the Committee of the Whole Stage. I therefore request our party whips to mobilize the requisite delegations for the divisions to be undertaken to ensure progress is made on this bill. Particularly, Mr. Speaker, the 2 bills that we concluded in the previous days, county allocation of revenue and equalization, which we concluded yesterday after a very interesting debate, Mr. Speaker, from members who gave their perspectives on who deserves to be equalized and who doesn't deserve. It was quite interesting, Mr. Speaker, to listen to the various perspectives. Those bills are now at the second reading, Mr. Speaker. I hope we can conclude and vote on them this afternoon so that next week we conclude on them and our counties can begin their operation. Mr. Speaker, you know we are almost getting to the last week of July and we haven't considered county allocation of revenue, which is the final instrument that delivers funds to counties, Mr. Speaker. We equally have to, in today's order paper, Mr. Speaker, the county additional allocation bill, another important bill as well that followed almost the same route with the equalization, Mr. Speaker. And I look forward to the debate on that one, Mr. Speaker, because there's good reason why that bill came up. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to request that if we can prioritize voting this afternoon on those very important pieces of legislation for our county governments, I will appreciate. On Tuesday, the 22nd of July, when SPC meets, Mr. Speaker, we shall consider the business of the week, Mr. Speaker, which will include business not concluded on today's order paper, as well as other businesses that are indicated in the notice paper. The Wednesday, 23rd of July, Mr. Speaker, will include questions to the CSs as approved by SPC, as well as motions. We have next week the Minister in charge of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports, who's responding to questions by a number of colleagues. We have the CS also for cooperatives and micro, small and medium enterprises, responding to a number of questions, as well as the CS in charge of environment, Mr. Speaker. Finally, Mr. Speaker, these bills that I have mentioned earlier, that are the second reading stage, which include the county government, state officers removal from office procedure. There's a tobacco control bill, which quite a number of senators have had interesting perspectives on. Mr. Speaker, there's a county government county government's amendment bill, Mr. Speaker. Then there's a street naming and property addressing system bill, a very important bill, Mr. Speaker, that will respond to part of the issues actually that were raised in the petition by Mr. Musundi. These other bills, Mr. Speaker, that are the committee of the whole, which include the sports amendment bill, public fundraisings appeal bill, the heritage and museums bill, environmental laws, statutory instrument, which is an ADCO bill, county government election laws, it's an ADCO bill as well, Mr. Speaker, labor, migration and management bill. These are bills that are in the third reading, Mr. Speaker. And I want to request colleagues, if possible, if we can schedule time next week and prioritize the conclusion of bills that we have finished actually moving of the amendments, and all that is required is to vote, Mr. Speaker. So I want to request if members can prioritize their attendance to the House so that we conclude on those bills. We have motions also on reports of the various standing committee, including the devolution committee, Mr. Speaker, into the state of markets in Vihiga and Bungoma County, arising from a statement that had been sought by Senator Osotsi and Senator Wakoli, both of the two counties. There's a progress report also from the cohesion and equal opportunity. I want us to debate this, Mr. Speaker, because it's one of the takeaway items that came out of the motion that this House moved after the June 25th protest of 2024, Mr. Speaker. And many times we keep on being asked, after you guys spoke for that long, what else have you done? This committee has done fairly good work, not to the level that we asked of them at that particular time, but why I'm seeking your indulgence, members, is that we need to look at what Senator Chute's committee, the Committee on Equal Opportunities, has done so far, so that we can infuse further ideas about how to make this report conclusive. So I really request if next week we can have a conversation on this, Mr. Speaker, and members can speak to it with passion, because this is one of the things that keeps us as a country on the tenterhooks every other time. The fact that opportunities are not shared equally, and the Senate can lead the way in ensuring that we grant equal opportunity to all Kenyans. Parliament, by the way, Mr. Speaker, I would just make a good example, because I served in PSC, and I know that we have a regional representation policy. Every time we do employment in this House, in Parliament, Mr. Speaker, part of what we consider is a geographical representation of the candidates that you have, that are being considered, especially where there is mass employment. And there's a quota allocated to every region, Mr. Speaker, including even in internship. This House, Parliament, Mr. Speaker, has internship opportunities for lawyers, for example. And one of the things that we do is that we offer those opportunities per county. So if this year we have county 1 to 15, because there are 15 slots, unless they have increased now, those 15 counties sit out for the next 3 years until the rest of the 32 counties out of the 47 have gotten an opportunity to present a candidate. Such are the kind of intervention that this House can recommend to ensure that as a country, even in terms of employment and equal opportunities, in all and across the span and breadth of the public sector is represented. That needs to be covered in this report, and therefore I want to urge members that next week when we discuss this report, please bring your A game so that we're done. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the projected business for Thursday, 24th, will be any other business that will not have concluded on Tuesday and Wednesday. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and hereby lay this statement on the table of the Senate. Thank you.
Now, honorable senators, before we move to the next order, I have this communication to make. I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, visiting teachers and students from Ikundu Primary and Junior School in Murang'a County. The delegation comprises 46 students and 5 teachers who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. Now, honorable senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming guests to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will call upon the Senator for Murang'a under 1 minute to Honorable Senator, take your seat. Take your seat. Majority Leader, you cannot dictate how the chair is going to handle its business. Honorable Nyutu, under 1 minute, kindly extend 1 word of words.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity, and thank you for correcting the mischief by the Majority Leader. I take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to welcome the pupils and teachers of Ikundu Primary School. This is a school in Maragua constituency, and to be specific, in Ginda ward of the same constituency. Welcome them to for the time that they are going to be here to see what is done in this particular house, the upper house, that basically is about devolution. And Mr. Speaker, this is a school that is very progressive, and I know and I want to assure the pupils of Ikundu Primary School and their teachers that we have faith in them and their future is very bright. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 8, motion, approval of Senate nominees for appointment to the Board of Trustees for the post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the following motion. This is the approval of Senate nominees to the appointment to the Board of Trustees for the post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament, that pursuant to the resolution of the Parliamentary Service Scheme on the Parliamentary Service Commission of 23rd June 2025 with respect to trust deeds and rules for post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament, the Senate appoints Senate Justice Retired Stewart Mazayo and Senator Esther Okenyuri to the Board of Trustees to the post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, that is what it is. I request Senator Ledama Olekina to second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I second the motion as moved.
So, honorable senators, I'll proceed to propose the question that pursuant to the resolution of the Parliamentary Service Commission of 23rd June 2025, with respect to the trust deed and rules for the post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament, the Senate appoints Senator Justice retired Stewart Mazayo, AGH MP, and Senator Esther Okenyuri, MP, to the Board of Trustees for the post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament. Now, honorable senators, the floor is open for debate. Now, remember, honorable senators, that this matter was elaborately explained to us during our last Naivasha retreat. It was adequately interrogated by us during that meeting. And therefore, I would urge you, instead of spending more time to debate on the very same matter that was explained and interrogated by us, with your concurrence, I proceed to put the question. Honorable senators, I will now put the question. That pursuant to the resolution of the Parliamentary Service Commission of 23rd June 2025, with respect to the trust deed and rules for the post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament, the Senate appoints Senator Justice retired Stewart Mazayo, AGH MP, and Senator Esther Okenyuri, MP, to the Board of Trustees for the post-service medical scheme for members of Parliament. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, consideration of the report of the Mediation Committee on the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bills number 70 of 2023.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Senate adopts the report of the Mediation Committee of the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2025, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 16th July 2025, and that pursuant to Article 113(2) of the Constitution and Standing Order 167(3) of the Senate, approves that mediated version of the bill. I request Senator Sigei to second.
Mr. Speaker,
yes, Honorable Sigei.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion that has just been tabled by the Honorable Senator Alan Sang. And just to affirm a bit of the mediated version of the gambling bill, Mr. Speaker, that is a product of a joint committee of the National Assembly and this House, where initially when the bill came into the House, certain amendments were proposed, leading to a reversion, or rather a reconstitution of the mediation committee to consider the proposals that particularly came from this House. In particular, Mr. Speaker, part of the new introductions to the version of the bill that is currently before the House is a requirement for purposes of those trading in the business to have not necessarily ownership or the 30% ownership of the local representatives, especially for those who want to trade online. This was a position that earlier on had been provided that required any gambling agency must submit 30% of its shareholding to local investors. Mr. Speaker, the committee in discussion over it provided that the only way we can enhance the business community in that particular sector to enhance support and access to these countries to ensure that they actually relinquish certain percentage of their shares and also are required to meet a certain condition, including provision of physical space, registration processes that are normally required for local entities. And Mr. Speaker, the version that has now been tabled will speak to a number of the concerns, noting that this is one of those businesses that is currently almost across the world. Gambling, as you know, has been regulated across the world because of the need to make sure that young Kenyans or young members of the society who do not necessarily understand the gambling might end up being consumed in the sector if the regulations are not properly in place. This particular bill, Mr. Speaker, will ensure that that protection, that control is enhanced to support the mechanism which everybody who gets involved in gambling is required to comply with certain provisions of the law. So, Mr. Speaker, I support and I request the members of the House to support the motion so that the bill can progress to the next level for processing. And I thank you.
Honorable Senators, I will now propose the question that the Senate adopt the report of the Mediation Committee on this Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bills number 70 of 2025, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 16th July 2025, and that pursuant to Article 113.2 of the Constitution and Standing Order 167.3 of the Senate, approve the mediated version of the bill. Now, the floor is open for debate. The Senator Fernandi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. While I note that the Mediation Committee of the Senate and National Assembly have done extremely well, is that our representative failed to note that under Article 96, our role is to protect devolution. And on the fourth schedule, there is a critical role of Mr. Speaker, of county governments. And one of the critical roles of the county government is issuance of licensing, not only on other things, but also including gambling. While I appreciate there is an amendment that has been proposed by the committee, we should have elaborate, because there are so many licenses that we issue. Mr. Speaker, when you visit a number of our local shops somewhere in Narok Town, you will notice the wall is mosaic. Not because it is a design of that shop, but because of the many licenses that we issue. And therefore, I agree, but we should have retained and given powers for the licensing. While I appreciate that they are proposing that county will develop county legislation. So, Speaker, you have to appreciate this country is a country of diverse. When you go where Senator Haji comes from and other counties that are predominantly Islamic, yeah, even, I don't know, Kwale and also Mombasa predominantly. I'm not saying all of it predominantly. That's good English. It's called prospectus, Mr. Speaker, or conceptus, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thought there is only one speaker in the House. Mr. Speaker, therefore, it will be a big challenge. So if you say let counties make their own county legislation, counties that are predominantly Islamic, they might not allow this. So they have proposed in their report, they will not allow this, Mr. Speaker. If they would not, they would have proposed a uniform county legislation for counties to be able to follow on this issue of gambling. Because of different diverse culture, different religion. Mr. Speaker, you have to appreciate that this culture of gambling is killing many families, Mr. Speaker. And gambling is an addiction, Mr. Speaker. It is becoming a problem. Mr. Speaker, while we appreciate we must raise taxes, Gambling is a dangerous disease that when it is addictive, it should be treated the way it is being treated, Mr. Speaker. Many people are betting the other day that Chelsea will win, PSG will win, and I'm telling you, there are people who are still recovering from that shock, especially people who did not support Chelsea to win. So, and they have gambled, there is Betexin, there is many betting companies, Mr. Speaker. I'm told even in our villages where we come from, especially where Senator Kalwale comes from, I'm told young men and women are stealing even eggs to go and sell so that they are gambling, Mr. Speaker. When you visit our small centers, there are some Chinese-like machines called lotteries, where, Mr. Speaker, they are taking a lot of our resources, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, I would have expected our committee, we don't want to be a gambling nation, Mr. Speaker. And you know this thing of gambling with life, even when you saw the other day, people are gambling with their lives. They go on the streets, they loot. When it is just a gambling. Mr. Speaker, you saw some of the young people were even sending money for morticians, even during Sabasaba and during the anniversary, Mr. Speaker, of GNC demonstrations. We are a dangerous country, Mr. Speaker. We are teaching the young people bad manners, Mr. Speaker, of gambling. Because we have said, Mr. Speaker, that you can gamble your way to wealth or to power, Mr. Speaker. We should desist, and even I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, some of your guests, including boys and girls from various schools, should know that gambling is a bad manners. We should not teach our society to gamble. We should not. We know people who have gambled their way to where they are, Mr. Speaker, and we don't want to mention names after you gave us directive or in the ruling that you gave it in a Solomonic manner, Mr. Speaker. So we don't want to teach anybody to be a gambler. The only gambler we should allow is Kenny Rogers' song about gambling, Mr. Speaker. That's the only song we should allow. The Kenny Rogers, Mr. Speaker. No, the standing orders does not allow me to sing, Mr. Speaker, and they are misleading me. Mr. Speaker, you should know when to run and when to stay. Mr. Speaker, so this issue of trade permits, licensed amusement machines, pool table permits, Mr. Speaker, license and supervise of county issuance of trade permits for total setters. Mr. Speaker, these are very interesting English. Mr. Speaker, it reminds me the hearing of the president of Eastern Cape, Judge Celebi Mbenenge, over his claims of sexual harassment, and he's using very powerful English like what the committee have used here, Mr. Speaker. So this issue of I would have expected the committee...
Senator Olekina, kindly take your seat. Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for protecting me. Mr. Speaker, and therefore number two is on the issue of, I agree with the amendment that the young people should be part of the betting board, and therefore a representative from Council of Governors, because that is where we should, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, another committee resolution that I have noted is functions from the authority, which I agree, the issuance of license should stay with the counties. Mr. Speaker, you know we are struggling with on-source revenue. I have seen a number of governors celebrating on on-source revenue, Mr. Speaker. We should retain the issue of licensing. The Constitution is very clear that under the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, the fourth schedule, and even the Constitution itself, the power of issuance of licensing stay within. Mr. Speaker, I know KRA is struggling to raise money. We are aware, Mr. Speaker, we have a deficit budget of 4.2 trillion shillings. We normally on average raise 2 trillion through Kenya Revenue Authority, Mr. Speaker. While I appreciate that, we should not allow KRA to arrogate itself the power they don't have, Mr. Speaker. They shouldn't. And therefore, I agree with this amendment that the issue of issuance of license, the factor of raising revenue, is only given to two entities, Mr. Speaker. It is given to the national government, it is given to the, Mr. Speaker, is given to county government. And the Constitution is very clear, Mr. Speaker, that should you want to give yourself power to collect revenue, Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy the Senate Justice, retired Judge Stewart Manzayo knows this, is you come to legislate. You don't take it through the back door, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, because I'm running through, because this is the clause, this is Senate Amendment Clause 28. I agree that the employees an accreditation for a person in non-gambling within gambling premises so that we don't need to use the sweeping of the police to those. Mr. Speaker, another problem, Mr. Speaker, I came to learn this issue because I have seen in this clause number 28 that media nowadays, while I appreciate media are struggling to raise the revenue. Mr. Speaker, all the radio stations, the televisions, I have tremendous respect for the media. That's why they are called the fourth estate. Mr. Speaker, I was surprised even old men and women of 70 years are now gambling in radio stations. In TVs, Mr. Speaker, they are now gambling. It is becoming a dangerous disease. Mr. Speaker, while media are trying to raise the revenue to run their stations, I know one of the media owners is looking at me, Mr. Speaker. He is trying and be moral. We cannot legislate anything. From morning to evening, Mr. Speaker, you only hear promotion. Buy this. If you gamble with 1,000, you gain 10,000, Mr. Speaker. We don't want to reduce this country to a gambling nation. We are gambling with our lives. We are gambling with the economy. We are gambling with elections, Mr. Speaker. We are gambling in our relationship, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to agree, these media promotions, we must regulate, Mr. Speaker. It should be PG. It should be parental guidance. It should be put, Mr. Speaker, at the watershed period, Mr. Speaker, so that we don't need the NCCK or Kenya Episcopal Conference of Catholic Bishops or the evangelistic or traditional or the Islamic religious to come out and tell us to religiate on issues that can be done morality, Mr. Speaker. We don't want to create a society, Mr. Speaker, an aspect of capitalism. You know, capitalism does not have a soul and a heart, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I agree that we must regulate. And I'm told, Mr. Speaker, these promotions that you do in media, you can imagine 1 million Kenyans sends 100 shillings. And they end up giving out only a gift of 500,000. So, Mr. Speaker, they are making a lot of money. Number 31, I agree that the period of validity of license 6 months. Mr. Speaker, this one will give opportunity. And I agree that let us increase from 12 months this issue of operation license, of the gambling license, move from 12 months to 36 months so that it can allow ease of doing business, Mr. Speaker, convenience, reliability. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this issue of 12 to 36 months is very critical so that it becomes predictable, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was talking to some businessmen and women. It is becoming a problem visiting county offices. When you go to county offices, you are being told, can you come behind the tent? It is inconveniencing, Mr. Speaker, starting a business in this country. And I want to appeal to government agencies, Mr. Speaker. Starting a business in this country, by the time you get even one license, if you have never gotten an heart attack, you get diabetes or hypertension. Because we have created a very tedious process of receiving in this business, including from NEMA, Mr. Speaker, from all the agencies, including public health. Why don't we create one portal that when you want to apply license, you can get only one license? If today, Mr. Speaker, you want to cut a tree in Nairobi, the agencies, Mr. Speaker, that you will go, even those agencies are not more than the process of going to heaven, Mr. Speaker. It is so tedious. It is so unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, by the time you get your license, if you are not sick, Mr. Speaker, you are bankrupt. Because this brown envelope, Mr. Speaker, your file has disappeared and all those. So I agree that there should be predictability. Gambling license should move from 12 months to 36 months. On the issue of tax rate of 15%, lottery tax at the rate of 15%, Mr. Speaker, as I indicated, that the gambling issue, we should be very careful as a country. In fact, I want to request, Mr. Speaker, the Committee of Trade and ICT must do an audit of this gambling that we have, Mr. Speaker. You are being told you can win a mbuzi or a goat, you can win a car, you can win 100,000, you can win a trip to Diani, you can win a trip. Mr. Speaker, they are just playing with the imaginations of Kenya, and they are making more money. I am daring today, I can see the chair of trade, Senator Issa Juma Boy. Just take one media company or an advert. 1 million Kenyans send shillings, including our old men and women in the village. And they only give a reward of 500,000 or even 20,000. Those guys are making devilish and satanic profits at the expense of Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. They are making it, Mr. Speaker. There are people who are going without food because they are gambling, Mr. Speaker. Even I know the football season is over, but I want to appeal to many young people, or has it begun? Yes, it's coming in August, Mr. Speaker. So I want to appeal, this issue we must agree, and I agree that we need to introduce the lottery tax of 15%, Mr. Speaker, as a preventive mechanism against the disease called gambling, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say this issue of gambling must and should be arrested. So the issue of 15% tax at the rate of 15% on lottery tax, Mr. Speaker, should and must be included. While I appreciate, Mr. Speaker, it is not lost on us that most of these betting companies are sponsoring football tournaments, they are giving out support, they are giving out CSR. But, Mr. Speaker, when you compare the cooperative social responsibilities that these betting companies and lottery companies are giving, it's a drop in the auction, Mr. Speaker. It's a drop in the auction, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, they must pay tax, and we must ensure this CSR, while they say, I normally see they sponsor Gorbaya, AFC, Mr. Speaker, you know, in the spirit of East Africa, I have a lot of interest in Tanzania, Mr. Speaker. I normally see sports persons sponsoring Simba or Yanga, Mr. Speaker, down there in Tanzania. While we appreciate, even here AFC Leopard, this one Arambe Stars, we want them to be sponsored, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and many other companies.
Honorable Faki, allow your colleague to make his comments. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker,
if you need to give information, you know what to do.
Mr. Speaker, you know some habits die hard. Old habits die hard, and I understand why. Mr. Speaker, he's a good man. So, Mr. Speaker, this one of the tax should be charged by the license broker, and we agree with that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, quickly, from to 1 shilling, Mr. Speaker, this is where I was saying. I don't know whether our majority leader, I don't know whether your membership are aware of the reality on the ground. Because vitu kwa ground is different, Mr. Speaker, forgive my language. But how do you reduce from 20 shillings to 1 shilling? You will allow the small children also to be betting, Mr. Speaker. And where is the mover of this report, Mr. Speaker? I don't think he's around. Mr. Speaker, you will allow young boys and girls to bet because you are reducing it from 20 shillings, Mr. Speaker, to 1 shilling, Mr. Speaker. That this minimum amount bet, unless, Mr. Speaker, with a lot of tremendous respect, this law reflects to the role of the betting companies, Mr. Speaker. And we must agree because that the national...
Senator Fernande.
Yes.
The senator for Bomet wishes to give information. Are you amenable?
No, if it was about Chebole Road, I would have agreed, but on this one, I'm an expert.
Proceed.
Allow me, Mr. Speaker, to proceed. No, to reduce the minimum of single bet in a casino from 20 shillings to 1 shilling, Mr. Speaker, unless you want me to bring a casino, even the small you see in Jebwalungu Center, somewhere in the Bomet, Mr. Speaker, because in the committee report, this is not my report, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the clause number 66, I think when you will be replying, you can clarify if you think I didn't capture your but we should stop from being gatekeepers of certain interests, Mr. Speaker. I know them. Mr. Speaker, I've been around for long. I know they are put on a mask, but we'll unmask them when the time comes, Mr. Speaker, during voting. Mr. Speaker, I allow the clause number 66. In this issue of financial reporting and monitoring, I agree they have done a good job there. Mr. Speaker, the issue of money laundering. Mr. Speaker, you know there are people who are stealing public funds. We used to have pirates here in Somalia. There was a lot of money coming to it's called illicit money. Mr. Speaker, and I think on the issue of money laundering, Senator Sige, you have done extremely well on this matter. We must address money laundering, Mr. Speaker. We don't want people to be stealing money and putting it in betting so that they can laundering it. Because the process of money laundering, the layering process, and reintegrating the illicit money into the system, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the issue, because I'm running through quickly, clause number 71, Mr. Speaker, penalty, I disagree, Mr. Speaker, to 50 shillings. I think this one, the mediation of the by deleting amount 5 million, therefore 3 million shillings. Mr. Speaker, I thought we had agreed. While we don't want to morally legislate, why would you reduce? We want this to be punitive. We want people who want to gamble, people who have excess money, like Senator Issa and Senator Faki. Mr. Speaker, we want people who have a lot of money to gamble. Mr. Speaker, this 5 million, and I'm happy Senator Issa is proud of it, that therefore 3 million, it should stay. I hope when it comes to committee of the whole, Mr. Speaker, that issue can be relooked at, Mr. Speaker. In this clause number 87, television, I agree. This one, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, remove the restriction that a gambling advertisement shall not be broadcasted on television between 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. unless it is done on a live sporting event. Mr. Speaker, I agree this watershed moment because most of our children who are part of your guests today are asleep. Then we can do a PG, parental guidance, so that those adverts of betting and gambling can be done during watershed moment, and also to protect our children and people under 18 years. Mr. Speaker, the 20 million to 1 imprisonment from 20 years, I agree. This is very important, 20 million shillings to 1 million shillings. Mr. Speaker, 1 minute. Mr. Speaker, I disagree. Why do you want to reduce from 20 million to 1 million, Mr. Speaker? This is wrong. Mr. Speaker, we disagree. Any media that advertises beyond restricted time, they should be fined 20 million. Mr. Speaker, with those many recommendations and report debate, I beg to differ and we will oppose with all my body organs when it comes to voting.
Senator Faki.
Mheshimiwa Spika, pia mimi nichangie ripoti hii ya uwiano kuhusiana na sheria ya kamari. Na Mheshimiwa, kwanza jambo la kwanza ni kuwa japokuwa kamati mbili hizi zilikaa pamoja na kujaribu kuangalia yale masuala ya sheria hiyo ya kamari. Kwanza ni kwamba kamari si biashara, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kamari ni kamari. Na kamari na madhara mengi, Mheshimiwa Spika, ikiwemo ile tunaita addiction ama uraibu, vile vile pia inasababisha athari za akili, yani mental health. Mheshimiwa Spika, wengi wale ambao wanakwenda katika shughuli hizi wanaathirika kiakili, kwa sababu bila ya kwenda katika mchezo wa kamari, Mheshimiwa Spika, mtu yule anakuwa si mtu wa kawaida. Tatizo niliko nalo na sheria hii, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba imetoa fursa ya kufanya hata watu wadogo waweze kucheza kamari, kwa sababu ikiwa kiwango cha pesa ambazo unaweza kutumia kwa kamari kimepunguzwa kutoka shilingi 20 mpaka shilingi 1, ina maana kwamba kila mtu anaweza kushiriki katika mchezo wa kamari. Mheshimiwa Spika, shida nyingine ni kwamba katika vituo vyetu vya redio kwa sasa, Mheshimiwa Spika, matangazo mengi ni ya kamari. Kwa kipindi cha muda wa saa moja, Mheshimiwa Spika, katika redio zetu za FM, karibu saa nzima wanatumia kutangaza kamari. Utasikia ukilipa shilingi 100 utapata shilingi 2,000. Ukilipa shilingi 100 utapata 200,000. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, imekuwa ni jambo la kawaida sasa katika nchi yetu kwamba watu wanashiriki katika masuala ya kamari, na hii Mheshimiwa Spika sio jambo zuri, kwa sababu baadhi ya zile athari ambazo nimezitaja hapa, Mheshimiwa Spika, zitaweza kuwasibu Wakenya wengi. Hivyo basi na nchi haitapata watu ambao wanaweza kufanya kazi kuweza kujenga nchi. Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependekeza kwa sheria labda ingefanywa ngumu zaidi ama kali zaidi kuhusiana na wale ambao wanakiuka sheria kuhusiana na masuala ya kamari. Kwa mfano, hizi vituo vya redio ambavyo vinatangaza mara kwa mara masuala ya kamari vingepunguziwa muda ambao wanatakana kutangaza kamari hiyo, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa sababu bila ya hivyo ina maana kwamba kila mtu ataingia katika mchezo wa kamari, na hivyo basi itakuwa sio nzuri kwa nchi yetu ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hivyo shirika la communication, taasisi ya Communication Authority lazima iwe macho pia zaidi, Mheshimiwa Spika, ili kuhakikisha kwamba zile kamari ambazo zinatangazwa mara kwa mara ambazo zinaathiri watu wetu zinapunguzwa. Mwisho, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba kwa sababu ya hii kamari ambayo iko katika vyombo vya habari na kila mahali, ma TV, hata zile kasino ambazo zamani ndio ilikuwa ni sehemu za kamari, hivi sasa zimeweza kufifia. Biashara nyingi za kasino, Mheshimiwa Spika, zinaweza kufungwa kwa sababu wengi wanashiriki katika kamari ambayo iko katika mitandao, yani online. Hivyo basi biashara zile taasisi ama zile sehemu ambazo kamari ilikuwa ikichezwa zamani imebadilika, sasa imekuwa hata majumbani watu wanacheza kamari. Bibi na bwana wanashiriki katika kamari, kila mmoja akijaribu kushabikia timu yake ya mpira ama kushabikia jambo fulani ambalo iwapo watashinda itakuwa ni wameweza kupata zile pesa ambazo wamewekeza katika kamari hiyo. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hayo mengi napinga mswada huu.
Senator Mungatana.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity to make a comment on this mediated version and this report that has come back to the Senate for approval. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the team that sat down for this mediation process. On our side, we were led by our Senator and Chair of ICT, Senator Chesang, and we are grateful, Mr. Speaker, that some of the critical issues that we raised, some of the issues that were bringing disagreements between the two houses have been resolved. This means, Mr. Speaker, that in a short while, this bill will become law after assent by His Excellency, the President. Mr. Speaker, during the main debate of this gambling law, when it was at the Senate, I raised the issue of physical presence. Mr. Speaker, you will find that foreigners are truly exploiting Kenyans, and they are doing it online, Mr. Speaker. Foreigners who are involved in gambling, they actually do something called grooming of potential customers who are Kenyans. They will put very nice, well-spoken ladies to talk to people. They will make sure that you have a few winnings at the beginning. And once you are hooked, Mr. Speaker, they start taking money from you. And there is no physical presence of these offices in Kenya. And Mr. Speaker, what happens? Because in my practice of law, I came across a victim who explained to me what happened. They send you agreements. These agreements, they give you confidence that although they don't have a physical, sure enough, the first few you will get. Then afterwards, when you have put in good, that company has closed down. You go to the website, it's not there. So, Mr. Speaker, this report is saying that going forward, physical presence will be mandatory. And Mr. Speaker, this is a good thing. I support this report. Again, Mr. Speaker, it says to engage in this business, if you can call it, of gambling, they must put a security, substantial security, Mr. Speaker. And I think the report had recommended something like 50 million. This, Mr. Speaker, ensures that the potential victims, in case that gambling or online gambling collapses or closes down, the potential victims can actually go and secure at least to the extent of 50 million. Mr. Speaker, this is a good development. Because, Mr. Speaker, I'm aware that some of these online foreign companies that have been engaged in stealing from Kenyans, what they do, they set up business in, say, DRC Congo. They encourage a few people. Once the money has reached their target, they close. The website disappears. They come to Kenya. They do the same. They get, once they hit their target, the website disappears. So, Mr. Speaker, to require now that any gambling, especially foreigners who want to engage in this business, they must put a substantial deposit, then, Mr. Speaker, this report is carrying the wishes of many of us who debated this on the floor of this House. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I like the fact that this report has carried the idea that on the local scene, these advertisements for gambling must be discouraged during the time when our children are there, during the time when our children are still awake. Mr. Speaker, when you travel to foreign countries, you would see that the time that these adverts for gambling and I don't know, you will win what when you do what. When you put this money, you will get this. When you do this, you will win this. They are always at night, mostly late night. But in this country, before this law, we used to find so much of this. Our radio station, as has been said here by a previous speaker, our television sets, you know, until you get tired of looking at them, advert after advert after advert. Mr. Speaker, this report in the mediated version, and now it's going to be law once the president assents to it, it will get rid of all those. And this report has made a significant step forward in controlling gambling. At the end, Mr. Speaker, I don't gamble because I was taught by my parents. At the end, we have the responsibility as parents to teach our children that this question of pata potea, it must not be part of your culture. At the end, we must teach our children that hard work is the only way that you will make it in life. Mr. Speaker, it reminds me many, many years ago when I was considering to open my first law firm in Mombasa. Mr. Speaker, I went to seek advice from senior practitioners, and I remember one, many years, this is over almost 40 years now, and he told me, Mungatana, there is no shortcut to success. You see where I am? I have worked hard. And the children who have visited us in this Senate today, and I'm glad you are hearing us from the plenary, from up there. There is no shortcut to success. You must put in the work. You see all these senators who are seated here, none of them will tell you, you will see their suits and their nice looks and what, but they will not tell you the story of sleeping late at night, moving with spending nights in most uncomfortable situations, looking for votes, convincing people to sell their vision. And that's how they are seated here. There was work. That you will make it immediately. Anybody who tells you immediately, it's a red flag. Any person who tells you, put this money, you make money immediately, run away, like you are running away from the devil himself. Anything, even your hard work, by the time you are getting your KCSE certificate, it has been many years of hard work. It has been 8 years of primary. It has been 4 years of secondary school. Nobody told you that you put in a card or you put in a coin and you become a graduate of KCSE and now you're ready for university. There is no shortcut. At the end, we will make this law. I support this report, but at the end, the story is yours. The story is with your family. The story is your mother and father or your guardian. You must not gamble. Go and work. Go and work hard, and you will be successful to the extent that you imagine you will be in life. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I wish to support the mediated version of this report and confidently ask the President to assent to it so that we can start regulating this gambling business. Let's not go back and forth on this matter. Let us have a law, and if this law is not good enough, the Senate does not stop operating. It will amend any section that is not good for the sake of good order in this country. Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose this report on the Mediation Committee on Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2023. And I do so cognizant of the fact that we are living in a current environment where 90% of our youth are jobless, where we have protests on a daily basis, we have issues, social issues, mental issues, economic issues that we've not been able to address, that we are now seeking an escape route to live in an utopian world of get rich fast. Mr. Speaker, I was speaking to one of our colleagues here, and she said that one of our pastors in her village in Machakos collected all the offerings in the church, but instead of using it to solve social issues or to do God's work, he ended up gambling. Mr. Speaker, I've skimmed through this report. I've seen the areas which this House had suggested that be deleted in the bill. There's a reason as to why this bill ended up in mediation, and most of them have been retained. Mr. Speaker, this is not the time for us to encourage gambling in this country. I share the same sentiments with my colleagues who have spoken before me in terms of making it punitive for anyone to come and gamble this time. We must, first of all, solve our social issues. Mr. Speaker, gambling companies which make billions of shillings, in fact billions of dollars, target vulnerable, poor societies, people who make 500 shillings a day doing manual jobs, to be told to gamble. Our radio stations, our TV stations are the easiest way to communicate. But instead of our own radio station taking more time to educate the public and carrying out public participation on the dangers of gambling, they are spending more time collecting revenue because they can share the profits. Mr. Speaker, I completely oppose gambling. I oppose this bill. And if my colleagues, if I was to convince you from both sides of the aisle, I would request that we rethink gambling in this country. Mr. Speaker, in America, and I lived in America for so many years, and I'm also a resident, when you go to certain states, gambling is restricted to a particular area where only the rich would be able to drive. In Colorado, Mr. Speaker, you'll find that gambling would go into the Native American reservation, where there's a city which is set aside just for gambling. So it's the rich who will go there. People who have made money until they have, I cannot use that word, but they have money which they can only just use it as they wish. Disposable, not even disposable. There's a word I wanted to use which is not parliamentary, but I cannot use. It's money that you don't really care about. You don't give a hoot on where that money comes from. Mr. Speaker, the biggest challenge we have in this country right now, which is attributed to gambling, is mental illness. In this house, we passed a law on mental illness and how to deal with it. The laws that we are discussing in this house, and I have no problem with passing legislation, but we have to pass this legislation. We have to discuss this legislation cognizant of what is affecting, what is ailing our society. Right now, there are so many poor people, and the only thing they know how to do is to gamble for them to make money. There are people who will make 1,000 shillings maybe in a week because there are no jobs available. But because they have been lured to a scheme where they can get rich fast, they gamble all that money, and then they end up doing what? Sitting down looking at their kids in a table where they cannot eat. Gambling increases crime in a country, Mr. Speaker. Today, Mr. Speaker, we have our children in this parliament. They are looking at us. The same children who come here to listen to us are the same children who we do not understand now because they are from a different generation than the one we come from. They're the Gen Zs. We don't understand the language they speak. But instead of us taking the lead and guiding them, we're here discussing about amending laws and saying how good these laws are to gamble. We are not teaching them. I like what, although I don't associate myself, sentiments of my brother from Tana River, but I like one thing that he said, that to the children, know that we will not always tell you what we go through to be able to wear good suits. Some of us, you might look at us and you think, oh, this person is about 60 years old, and he's merely 20 years old. But it's because they have sleepless nights. They don't sleep. You know, they are always up at night, working. They have 10 jobs. Then you just see them here looking smart, sharp. You know, you don't even know what they are suffering from. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to beseech my colleagues here that it is not time for us to be passing this legislation to be able to support people who are already filthy rich, who are already collecting so much money. It is time for us now to think seriously about how do we end all these problems? How do we reduce crimes? How do we ensure that we have created jobs for our youth so that they don't end up in the streets? You know, these regulations that we're talking about, now in a devolved system of governance, where the Constitution allows county governments to be able to develop laws to collect certain taxes. This, unless there's uniformity across board, you will find some other counties who are culturally sane will say, we will hike and put so much money to be able to save their citizens. But others, because of interest, business interest, they'll make it even very cheap. Pay 5,000 shillings and you can have a gambling license. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I oppose this. I think the exposure to the youth at this particular time, when we are facing a lot of social issues, joblessness, should not be to gambling, but should be to working hard to making money. You know, our country is so good. Our country, you can only compare our country with other developed nations. But sometimes, even if we are passing through, the word is leapfrogging. Even if we leapfrog, sometimes certain things, we cannot just say you are born today and tomorrow you can be able to walk. But because of technology now, there are certain things that we don't need to go through the entire industrial revolution process for us to be able to manage how to do it. But in this country now, we have to remember that that process of industrialization is necessary because we have 47 counties which are completely different. So, Mr. Speaker, I oppose it. I think when you look at across the world, there are countries which are not stable. But those countries are the same countries, I think one of my colleagues who was speaking, are the ones who websites, they lure people to gamble there, And then before you realize, in fact, the first one, you are told, hey, take some little money. And you make some little money. You get addicted. Say it's one that can be allowed in this country is in the stock market. Because at the stock market, you're seeing there's a company here, Safaricom as an example. Yesterday I was reading somewhere that Airtel has now surpassed Safaricom in terms of their customer base. You know, when you are told invest in those companies, gamble in those companies, there is something where you know or going down is life. But where you are putting in and you don't know whether you're going to get to buy a loaf of bread or even a cup of tea. No. I say no to that. So, Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I completely oppose this report, and I oppose anything to do with gambling. I think in the next 10 years, once we've been able to fix our current problems of understanding each generation, is when I'll be able to entertain anything to do with gambling. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I oppose.
Senate Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this motion, which is a report of the Mediation Committee from the Senate and the National Assembly that brings to a close a very difficult exercise that we've had, which is to try and rein in and bring control on a very difficult sector. A sector, Mr. Speaker, that has been described very ably by my colleagues. In fact, I agree with them on their prognosis. What I do not agree with them, is a final diagnosis, what they eventually consider to be the solution. I've listened to my colleagues, Senator Ledama, Senator Cherargei, and while I agree with all the things they have said about gambling, Mr. Speaker, I am afraid that what they are prescribing as a solution might not serve us. We live in very interesting times, Mr. Speaker. You know, in the year 2018, this Parliament, the Senate, sponsored me alongside a few of my colleagues to Colombo, Sri Lanka, for a conference titled Evidence-Based Decision-Making. That conference eternally changed my life. And to date, as a lawmaker, if you follow me every afternoon, Mr. Speaker, including yesterday, I follow the evidence before make decisions based on political affiliations or feelings sometimes without looking at what the hard facts are telling us. And that's a debate we had here yesterday, for example, where I tried to remind my colleagues who are here, Senator Sifuna, Senator Halwale, Mr. Speaker, that while it is long held that there are counties that are rich and counties that are poor, a better way of looking at places, Mr. Speaker, to consider for affirmative action of any kind, Mr. Speaker, is to break it down to the lowest administrative unit, which is a sub-location, Mr. Speaker, and have a nationwide consideration. Mr. Speaker, this is one such scenario as well. We agree that gambling is a menace that has messed up so many young people, so many families, so many women, because it's not just young men, Mr. Speaker. You will recall that there were times when they had put some slot machines across the country. It was a very interesting spectacle where you'd find women folk in the village at about 4 o'clock trooping from their homes to the center to go and slot in the coins, Mr. Speaker, with the hope that they were going to have their luck on that particular day. I'm afraid, Senator Ledama, that you know when we legislate, we pass laws for things that we know, things that we like, and those that we don't. I understand very little about gambling. In fact, I don't know even how to gamble. But unfortunately, as a lawmaker, Mr. Speaker, I have to make decisions that are in the best interest of the people that I represent. Rift Valley, where I come from, Mr. Speaker, is a mecca of bettors. That's where the hardcore betting population of this country lives. And I know this from very, excuse me, very sound authority, Mr. Speaker, on statistics that I've seen. How many young people wake up trying to get 100 shillings or 50 to place a bet on something with the hope that they'll succeed. And of course, like has been described by many of our colleagues, 90 to 99% of the time they don't succeed, because that's how gambling works. I know that there's something they say, the house never loses, the house always wins. Unfortunately, Senator Ledama, choosing not to regulate this sector is not an option that you want to take. Why? Because even if we made the decision that we want to ban gambling in Kenya, are you aware that 60 to 70% of gambling nowadays has gone online? And they are from sites that don't even exist in Kenya. And those sites, just listen, Senator Ledama, I've done some good research on this. Those sites are operated by very sophisticated software that even if you block their IP address this minute, by the next minute, they have generated a new one. And our young people are following those sites there. So we must think of ways of how we will regulate this sector, because unfortunately, banning or choosing to close our ears and eyes and saying that this is not allowed in our country, Mr. Speaker, is burying our heads in the sand. We live in a digital world. Unless we want to say that we block the internet, perhaps that's the only solution that remains. But as it is today, Mr. Speaker, the unfortunate and the hard reality is that we have got to find ways of bringing order to this sector. Countries all over the world continue to grapple with this. I took time. Actually, the former ambassador to Kenya from the UK. Yes, I don't mind.
Senator Olekina, proceed and inform Senator Cheriot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the fact that the majority leader began his debate by giving us a history of what led to his style of debate, evidence-based. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the issue of evidence-based, it is imperative to remember that as a country, what we need to remember is that our national identity card number is the one that unites us. There is nothing that stops us, majority leader, from ensuring that when you, for every transaction that you use, either online, to confirm any money, you have to use your identity card number. In fact, nowadays, when someone cons you, so long as you can get the identity card number, you can find a way, and we need to be able to find a way, Mr. Speaker, and this is what I'd like to inform the majority leader, that we can use that identity to block you from doing any other transaction. In other countries, Mr. Speaker, where gambling is restricted, the moment you try to gamble, you're asked to put your national identity number or your driver's license number. If you go to Australia, before you enter a club, and they know you're not supposed to enter a club when you're not 21 years old, you give out your ID number. In a club, they run it through to make sure whether that ID is legit or not. Nothing stops us from ensuring that this website that the majority leader is talking about, that if you block this IP address, even the IP address is a problem, ensure that everyone, any transaction which is done in the Kenya space, even if the site is in Germany or America, requires you to put in your ID number. And if you put in your ID number, if you're not over 18, or if it is gambling, it blocks. There are ways around it with technology and AI.
Senator Ledama needs to spend time with these young people to understand what I'm telling you. Those sites are not hosted here in Kenya. They are not designed here in Kenya. Therefore, you cannot determine for them what information they require from the people that are placing bets on those particular sites. They make payment using cards, ATM cards, Mr. Speaker, and sometimes on mobile money. Therefore, it is not possible, Mr. Speaker, to do what Senator Ledama is proposing, because I know for a fact, Mr. Speaker, that these online platforms that are taking away most actually of the gaming revenue, Mr. Speaker, away from this country. And that is another discussion we need to have all together. Because second thing, Mr. Speaker, in the administration of the gambling space, Kenya and Tanzania took two different paths. Kenya decided to treat it as a social ill that needs to be regulated, and therefore they imposed a sin tax on it in the form of an excise duty, meaning that every time you place a bet, Mr. Speaker, there is tax deductible, just trying to dissuade people from participating in it. And that is what has led to a lot of traffic going offline, away from the regulated online betting spaces in Kenya, Mr. Speaker. Tanzania, on the other hand, chose to be facilitative and appreciated and said, while this is a social ill, they treated it like just any other social ill. They say, something must kill a man. For you it is gambling, for another person it is drinking. And therefore they said they treat all of them equally. And as we speak today, the level of business that operated in Kenya has gone down, while in that particular part of the country, it has increased. That is point number 2. Mr. Speaker, I do not think that Kenya made the wrong decision. I believe years down the line, Tanzania will regret that particular decision. And therefore, on that one, I agree that as a country, we must find ways of inhibiting the gambling habits of the people that participate in that particular space, Mr. Speaker. But I was just bringing to the attention of the House the evolving space within which this industry operates. That as we try to tax them here to dissuade them from participating in these games, they have actually taken off and they are now online. As we speak today, Mr. Speaker, therefore, we must find ways of regulating this sector so that what other countries have done, Mr. Speaker, is that they have tried to ensure that there is benefit, and any challenges that occur from subsequent months and years of betting to a particular individual are actually sorted by the betting house. You'll find that many of them, for example, and I was to inform me, a piece of legislation that was shared to me by one of the interns at the UK embassy about a year or two ago, by the time we were beginning this debate. They say that they have actually forced all gambling entities, so long as you provide gambling activities in the country, be it online or in the form of a casino, Mr. Speaker, to keep a record of the customers, and they share. And there is a trend they are able to trace. If they find that you are getting to levels close to addiction and you're becoming dependent on it while it's just supposed to be a sport, Mr. Speaker, they actually call you and they offer counseling services to you, mandatory by law. That's the kind of work that we need to demand from the firms that operate gambling activities in this country, that they must look after their customers, that if they notice you are actually addicted, Mr. Speaker, they provide support services to you as a customer. That needs to be provided by this authority. That turning our backs on our countrymen and we, Mr. Speaker, is not an act of leadership. It will be an act of cowardice on our part. While we may not agree with their choices, Mr. Speaker, we pass law in this house for the people that we agree with and those that we don't agree with, Mr. Speaker. I say that I don't know even how to gamble. I have never gambled in my life, Mr. Speaker. But I am fully aware that so many of the young people that vote for me to come to this house, Mr. Speaker, battle with gambling addictions, for example. I must provide a regulatory framework for them to have an entity that will look straight into the eye of these betting firms and tell them that look after your customers. Ensure that you provide support services to them if they get to addiction levels, Mr. Speaker. The CSR support that Senator Cherargei was talking about, Mr. Speaker, it must be provided so that you counterbalance between the force of good and evil in the society. So that at the end of the day, if there are challenges that they have brought about in the society, how have they counterbalanced it? By providing, for example, everybody knows that the biggest contributors in this day and age in the sporting world are actually these betting farms. Across the globe, Mr. Speaker, they sponsor the biggest of sporting franchises out there, Mr. Speaker. They develop gymnasiums, stadia, Mr. Speaker, because of the realization that people's choices, Mr. Speaker, vary from one to the other. Therefore, I want to urge my colleagues that while looking at this particular topic, Mr. Speaker, that let us be mindful of the fact that this is not a simple decision that you can just make and say, we choose to look away. What we need to is first, you need to have an authority. I think, I don't know what it is called, the current regulator, BCLB or something. I think it's just a department in one of the offices here. You need an authority that has representation from almost all spheres of society, Mr. Speaker, including even religious institutions. Those who will have the courage to sit in that particular board, Mr. Speaker, so that when you set the tough conditions, Mr. Speaker, the farms live by the rules, they play by the rules, and we protect many citizens that continue to battle and struggle in this particular space. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge colleagues that have taken time to read through this report. I appreciate that it has been a protracted battle between the Senate and the National Assembly, their perspective of things, Mr. Speaker. There are many things we had included, including taxes that we proposed. If you remember, we had actually proposed something akin to a sin tax to ensure that we dissuade young people. But unfortunately, when these people went to the mediation, it was dropped, because I know National Assembly will never agree to any tax proposition coming from the Senate. Of course, the matter was not even given a chance. I knew that proposition, Mr. Speaker, had the chance of a snowball in hell the minute he left this house, so long as it was going to get to the National Assembly. Because they don't view this for what it is. It is a broader conversation about what is the space of Senate with regards to taxation and so on and so forth. And therefore, we lost it at that. My thinking, because I listened to, I don't know who it was, one of the members who moved that proposal on taxation, Mr. Speaker, was actually to sort that issue that I had proposed, or that I had spoken to earlier, between how we chose to administer betting and the difference in approach we took between us and Tanzania, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, since that was lost in the mediation, I concede, Mr. Speaker, because we must be able to achieve the greater good, then we'll tie in the small ends eventually when we have the opportunity. So I want to request that we conclude on this business today, Mr. Speaker, if possible, so that when we get the opportunity to have a regulatory authority, then we shall invite them to this house and now ask the hard questions, Mr. Speaker. Maybe, I don't know, maybe, just maybe, that there are technological solutions that are available to these companies that are running betting, Mr. Speaker, online and don't have presence in Kenya, they don't pay taxes in this country, Mr. Speaker. I know that there is a lot of ways in which we can find them. I know, for example, Senator Ledama, because earlier on you had asked me what might be the solution, is that you can force their bookmakers, because all these online betting firms rely on bookmakers that are actually regulated in countries that have even stronger regulations in this space than the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, to give us the odds so that you're able to establish how many transactions they made out of this country and what it is that they paid. Because now in this law, thanks to the mediated version of the report, even if we have no ways of finding and establishing, we shall continue to demand of them until such a time that we catch up with you. You may be domiciled out of a country that a tax haven somewhere that Kenya has no relationship with, but somehow, someway, the long arm of the law, when it eventually catches up with you, then you will pay into the Republic of Kenya. Therefore, I appreciate that proposition that has come from this committee to tax even those that are participating in the online space and have no physical space in offices in Kenya, Mr. Speaker. You may not have the chance to recover anything from them at this point, but somehow, someway, one day, one time, Mr. Speaker, you will find the opportunity. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, is to ask our colleagues, Mr. Speaker, to treat this matter with the urgency that is needed. Because listening to those that are opposed and supporting this, there's one point that we all agree, that this is a space that needs our urgent attention as policy makers, Mr. Speaker, so that we find a way. Senator Ledama is proposing that we create a city akin to Las Vegas, or the one for China is called what? Macau. But that will only work for those that operate on casinos, Mr. Speaker. What about those that participate on these in the online space? What will you do to them? Like I have said, there is no way of stopping them, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, I want to urge Senator Ledama that let's create the authority first, then the rest follows. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to support and thank the colleagues that. Thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader. And it is good that you declared you've never participated in gambling. But I'm just wondering, is sending fair gamble?
Mr. Speaker, because you have asked me a question, yeah, sending fair is a gamble, especially for a young man like Eddie, Mr. Speaker. Because chances are she may come or not come. That is a gamble. It has odds, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. You know, Mr. Speaker, for the first time I've seen a situation whereby you invite Senator Cheriot to give a comment on what the Speaker has said without ruling. And, Mr. Speaker, this issue of fair, I'm looking at the eye of the majority. It looks very annoyed when you raise the issue of fair, although he's smiling, but he's burning in the inside. It seems like he's fair. He has gambled a lot with this fair to the extent that he wants. But on a more serious note, Mr. Speaker, let me just share a few ideas or thoughts on this gambling thing. And actually, Mr. Speaker, right from the start, I want to say that this is something I seriously oppose. And I totally oppose it for a variety of reasons. I was actually in the mediation team, and I was very clear that this is something that we should not even be able to entertain in our country. Because something like gambling, Mr. Speaker, happens in the context of a society. And every society have got different challenges with how gambling manifests in it. A democracy as strong as the United States, Mr. Speaker, had a serious gambling issue in the latest years that we have seen in the last 20 years, to the extent that, Mr. Speaker, that despite that the United States is actually a 200 years democracy, they have really struggled with the issue of gambling. Because there are a number of vices that come with gambling that, Mr. Speaker, cannot be commensurate with the benefit that you come with whatsoever. In fact, in 2018, I had just left the United States 2 years before that, when the conversation about gambling was going on very strongly. And Mr. Speaker, in 2018, there was a Supreme Court decision that declared sports gambling in what we call Murphy versus the National Collegiate Athletics Association unconstitutional, to the extent that this was a case that was looking at sports gambling and the vices that was being among young people in the United States. And the fact that the United States had, even as a city where we call it Las Vegas, where you can actually go and do gambling there, and some sort of regulations that are within states that allows for resources from gambling to be able to enable those states raise some revenues without necessarily taxing people, or rather adding more taxes on people, and then do very specific services to those states. For instance, where you find originals who are in the United States, who we call the Red Indians, their communities must have been left behind in some inequality issues around economic development that has happened in the United States. You might find that some gambling might be allowed in those quarters just so that you can raise resources
to enable them be able to deal with those services that their communities need. But other than that, Mr. Speaker, the overall issues and the overarching issue of gambling, Mr. Speaker, becomes a very complex thing to maneuver, even in advanced economies that can be able to monitor those vices like the United States. And Mr. Speaker, the question here is, this particular mediated version is very heavy on the opportunity for our government to raise taxes. But Mr. Speaker, when you look at an industry like gambling, this is what you call regressive taxation. Regressive taxation, Mr. Speaker, is where the amount of money you'll be able to collect practically from an activity such as gambling will continue dwindling, going down, but because you have given it an element of law to exist, the amount that are being earned from that particular vice by people who have invested in it will continue to be abnormal in terms of their exponential growth. So therefore, you can never use gambling as a place to target tax revenue. Because it's one thing that if you allow, it has got what you call negative externality. When you allow it to happen in your economy, you cannot control where the revenues are going to come for the owners of those businesses. So then it goes without saying that other vices that are going to be there will always cost the government more in terms of dealing with them. Mr. Speaker, for instance, if you allow gambling and you're making, for instance, you're making, let's say, 4 billion for purpose of conversation in terms of tax, 800 billion Kenya shillings, and you're only taxing 4 billion because it's regressive. And then, while you're doing that, you find a society where young people are not employed, young people don't have technical ability to go to school because they are adapted in what we call compulsive gambling. Compulsive gambling is where other behaviors have developed in your entire population, where kids from secondary schools and primary schools start gambling behind the scenes in the black market. You don't have control because they can be able to afford mobile phones. You don't have control of their behavior. They start gambling. And then this is starting to impact their education, starting to impact their concentration in school, starting to impact their behavior in terms of even starting to steal from their parents to go and gamble. What about a society where the poorest people, who are not even in the middle class, are not going to start focusing on their work, but instead spending more time gambling? You see, this will have a ripple effect in the society when you look at their total productivity factor. Mr. Speaker, you yourself in your office employ a number of young people who have just come from college. If they get captured in gambling, and then after they've been captured in gambling, they don't pay attention to the work you've given them to do, what is the impact in their productivity to what they're supposed to do for you as a Speaker of the Senate? What will end up happening is that you will have this big impact, and that's what we call it compulsive gambling, in the sense that the negative effect in the society is so big that even if you are to collect a lot of taxes from it nominally, not in absolute terms, because in absolute terms, the money that's going to gambling is always going to be humongous. It's always going to be exponential compared to the money that you end up getting into the taxes. Now, why do we collect taxes, Mr. Speaker? We collect taxes so that we can be able to, as a government, provide services to our people. Now you're in a situation whereby, Mr. Speaker, you are competing between the money to give roads, the money to provide water, the money to provide affordable housing, the money to provide SHA, and then you now have this population of young people who have developed other vices, including mental disorder in the society, Mr. Speaker, that now as a government you must spend on. That's why we call it both a regressive tax. You're going to collect a relatively small amount of money compared to what is in that industry. And then secondly, you're going to have compulsive problems where you have, as a government, to spend in those problems. You will have to spend on the population that is not productive. You'll have to spend in the population that is becoming, having mental disorder. You'll have to spend in the population that is facing problems of selling their assets and becoming poorer. So you're getting tax that is regressive. It will never help you. Gambling cannot be a place where a government wants to go and face and start looking for taxation as a revenue. It doesn't work like that. In fact, if we had got stronger counties, Mr. Speaker, then this gambling thing could have been left for county legislations, where counties see it possible that we are going to have this particular form of gambling or level of gambling to provide a certain service for on-source revenue, not even as a substantive tax, but for on-source revenue, like what is happening in the US, where states, especially those who have got red Indians who are struggling, are allowed to collect some form of revenue from very limited and very restricted gambling activities, and in very restricted areas like Las Vegas, then you help the society, Mr. Speaker. Why are we as legislators seeing this bill passing right before? In fact, Mr. Speaker, you will see the level of growth of gambling companies when you pass this bill. Everybody, including politicians here, Mr. Speaker, which is one of the biggest problems that the United States is facing, China is facing, bigger countries are facing, of political crime, where politicians are going to enhance corruption. It's going to work the same way we are seeing sometimes some mushrooming petrol stations, where even in neighborhoods where they've got residential tickets, people opening up petrol stations as a way of sometimes hiding some funds. That's an easier problem, Mr. Speaker. A bigger problem is being able to allow for this bill to pass and make it even easier for people to have gambling licenses, Mr. Speaker. Because there is no way to monitor a gambling activity apart from just the revenue metrics, which is what we are putting here, to be able to look at what revenue has come in and what can we be able to get from that revenue. Mr. Speaker, this will be a conduit, a place for the political class to even hide money, a place for money launderers to hide money, a place for criminals to hide money. Surely, the Senate of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, that has been seen for the last 3 years when the country has faced tempestuous moment, when the country has faced a lot of challenges, we have seen as the house that brings back sobriety in this country. When Senator Cherargei gets up to speak on matters of national importance, matters that concern the nation, Mr. Speaker, the country listens. The countries trust the Senate. The countries trust the Senate above the National Assembly. The country trusts the Senate above even the executive, above to issues of national significance, Mr. Speaker. I know for a fact of women who have faced a lot of problems, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mogeni, what is your point of order?
I've had my good friend, Senator of Migori, making some bad inference against other legislative houses, where he says that data existing shows that Kenyans don't trust the National Assembly, they don't trust our 47 county assemblies, they only trust the Senate. Is that factual, going by the contents of Standing Order number 105? We should not say things we cannot back by data.
Senator Eddie, what did you imply by that statement?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, you know, Senator Morgan is my senior. I know how much I respect him. He should not say what I did not say. I did not say that those other institutions are not trusted. I just said we are trusted more than them. It's a level of trust. It's an issue of level of trust. And there's a number of data, including Muzalenzo Trust, Mr. Speaker, that does all these data-driven research that shows that Senate is actually more trusted as an institution by Kenyans.
Since you've referred to an existence of data,
yes.
According to Senator Mogeni's point of order,
yes.
Are you able to substantiate by tabling those data so that
Mr. Speaker, if you give me time, I'll bring you the Mzalendo data and show you just how much Senate is trusted across board in the country in terms of making sober decisions. And actually, I was calling to the conscience of my, because I know I might get a time to speak, and perhaps I need to bring him up. He just got in. I need to bring him back that we are discussing the gambling bill. And I wanted to tell him that as my senior, I was trying to appeal to his consciousness that this bill
Very well, Senator Eddie, you will substantiate by the next sitting.
Sure, I will do that. But I wanted to appeal to him as one of the senators that this bill around gambling, and especially predicated upon the idea that we are going to make some significant tax revenue from gambling, is indeed a bad bill, in the sense that you cannot predicate the idea of getting tax revenue from gambling when exponentially people will make more money than the taxes that you're getting, but the impact of the vices that you will have in the society. I was giving the senator example that in my own community in Migori, there are a number of cases that have come to me of people going through depression. There are a number of cases that we have seen of people committing suicide after losing their basic assets, as simple asset as women selling goats to go gamble with, as simple asset as young people selling their motorbikes that they have saved over and over time, over 3 years, to purchase a motorbike, then they sell it to go and gamble with it, and then they end up losing everything that they had. The impact is so big that if it's not only for mental health disorders or in places whereby we have got suicidal cases where people have killed themselves actually because of this gambling problem, it also even furthers crime, Mr. Speaker. Because in a situation whereby a young person or even any other member of the society has lost their assets, have lost in this gambling, and even in some cases they have lost their jobs because of this gambling problem, what happens where somebody has got the mental stamina not to commit suicide? If they have lost all their assets and all they had, Mr. Speaker, what remains for them to be able to survive is to go into criminal activities, Mr. Speaker. And we see these vices over and over in the society. So, Mr. Speaker, I know there's temptation to try and regularize this bill to make it look like we're going to have a framework that will make sure that we encapsulate the entire gambling industry into a tax bracket. But I think that this is one of those areas that will dissuade us not to be excited about as a country, as a place to be able to get taxation. Because that taxation is regressive in the one hand, but most importantly, even if you're to collect as much money from it, you can never be able to use the same taxation to deal with the vices, the impact of the vices you have in the society. Where you are competing to be able to build roads, you will now be competing to build roads and to deal with the issue of mental disorder in the society. Where you will now even have another problem that you're not only dealing with giving people water, but also dealing with the crime that will come in the society, Mr. Speaker. But I can see that politicians might be excited about this because it is also an avenue for some dubious politicians. I'm not saying any particular politicians, but there are potential for dubious politicians to take advantage of this bill and have mushrooming companies for gambling so that it becomes a conduit for money laundering by the political class and other people who are outside of the political class, Mr. Speaker. This is something that I believe that as a House, we must be bold, we must be courageous, we must remain solid, we must be distinct in our decision as a House that despite the fact that this bill has gone through a mediated process, this is a bill that we must kill as a House and make sure that we don't give a license to auction the future of our children. We don't give a license, Mr. Speaker, to auction the health care of our children, Mr. Speaker, by making sure that we now enable an avenue for serious mental disorder. And if we must consider as a country, and be competitive in terms of looking at gambling legislations, Mr. Speaker, then I would wish this House the courage, because we are the House that is established under Article 96 of the Constitution, that is supposed to protect devolution. Let us then enhance the legislative capability of our counties to be able to handle things like gambling bills, so that it is customized, that we only make sure that we don't touch into the unconstitutionality of gambling allowance into the country. But with regards to giving certification and legislation to operate and regulations, Mr. Speaker, why can't we, as a House, pass a bill that will enable counties to be able to determine this as an area for raising resources for specific services? Not all services, Mr. Speaker. Not even as a place for on-source revenue that goes into the baskets of taxation in the counties. Because that would also be tantamount to double taxation, Mr. Speaker. I would wish that we just come up with a legislation that allows counties to be able to look for those specific gambling activities in those counties, and specific areas of gambling in those counties, and specific taxation that is county level oriented, and it goes to specific services, after which you don't take it to the entire CRF of the county to deal with the entire on-source revenue issue. But as a national law, Mr. Speaker, I can assure you, having looked at the impact of gambling in countries that have made strides, countries that have got both the fortitude, not just the mental fortitude, but social fortitude to be able to deal with the vices of gambling, like the United States, like the countries in Europe, like in China, Mr. Speaker, having looked at the infrastructure that they've put in place to ensure that gambling doesn't collapse their countries, Mr. Speaker, we cannot afford to see this bill pass this House. And Mr. Speaker, I will work very hard, and I know there are some senators here who are very, very, very solid in terms of championing for, being able to whip people around. We will work very hard to make sure that, even I'm seeing Senator Sigais in the House, we will work together to make sure that we mobilize ourselves against this bill, that this House will not allow it to pass in this House, so that we make sure that gambling as a vice does not percolate in our society. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, you will start seeing with, these Gen Zs that we are now seeing not having employment opportunities, Mr. Speaker, they will find themselves that gambling is the only option that they must go to, and they're going into that gambling without money in it. They don't have the money. They will start borrowing from Peter and Tom and John to go and gamble with that money, and then more frustration will come where they have failed. Because the truth also is, out of the people who gamble, Mr. Speaker, not 2% of people who enter any bid end up winning that bid that they have entered, Mr. Speaker. So it means that when you have got a swath of young people who don't have employment, a sort of young people who don't have economic opportunities, a sort of young people who don't have opportunity for income generation, you leave them into trouble, Mr. Speaker, by allowing them to have alternative as only gambling. This bill, and I hope that my fellow colleagues will join me in making sure that it doesn't pass this House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Eddy. Senator Crystal Asige, and I do apologize for the fault on your consul. We were not able to see your name.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I appreciate that, and for the opportunity to speak briefly on the mediated version of the Gambling Control Bill. Speaker, first of all, this bill came through our committee, where I sit as the Vice Chair, which is the Labour Committee. And when we were considering this bill, before it even went to mediation, Speaker, I, as a member of that committee, opposed a lot of the provisions that are in this bill. And also because the spirit of gambling, for me, Speaker, is not really a legislative endeavor. It, I feel, needs to be thought about more in a philosophical way. Speaker, across the world, you will see that, even this title, I find it to be a bit to be a bit of a juxtapose kind of a title, because it says gambling control. I don't believe that you can control gambling. And the world over, Speaker, you will see that there are countries who have either allowed gambling to happen or have completely refused for it to happen in their economies. But those who have tried a middle ground, like we are trying right now, have not been able to control gambling, as it implies in this title of the bill. Speaker, I think that we need to remember that prevention is better than cure. And a lot of the time, I have seen in this House, as well as our twin House in the National Assembly, look at problems in our society as something that can be legislated in black and white. But unfortunately, there are a lot. Like what the previous speaker has said, which is that gambling follows vices. And I believe, Speaker, that that is the case for us here in Kenya. Because if you look at any reports or any pieces of data or research, which I have because I have interacted with this bill before in our committee, you will see that gambling follows quite specific vices in this country. Gambling is always targeted to vices such as abuse of alcohol and drugs. Gambling will target those who have vices around addiction of some kind. Of course, sports, Speaker. It also follows vices such as pornography, which nobody has spoken about here, or I haven't had anyone speaking about the same. This is what gambling companies will always target, especially those who are online. They will target people who are into entertainment or sports. They will target those who are into drugs and alcohol. They will target those with any kind of addiction. Mental health as well has been spoken about here. And they will target those who watch and enjoy porn. Mr. Speaker, there are reports as well that we saw when we were looking into this bill in our Labour Committee, which show that in Kenya, some of the highest usage of the internet lie in those very topics I have just mentioned. It's the top 10. In the top 10 are entertainment, sports, shopping, but in the top 3 is pornography. And Mr. Speaker, if we don't address these issues, the vices themselves, then we will never be able to control gambling. That is my fear, Speaker. And recently, in the last few months in this House, as I said, we keep legislating things that are the symptoms and not the actual core root of an issue. Recently, Speaker, we were trying to legislate around fundraising in churches and the like. And there are members in this House who actually said and opposed that bill because they said, how can you tax or try to regulate fundraising without looking at the reason why Kenyans feel like fundraising is their only hope to get through their problems? When somebody fundraises for a sick relative, we must not regulate the fundraising. We must ask, why does this person feel like the health system has failed them? When somebody is trying to fundraise, for example, for education or taking someone to university, you must not regulate that, but you must ask, why is this person feeling that the education system has failed them, and that's why they have to look into their family and friends and community to raise funds for education? Same principle for me, Speaker, lies here. Why are we trying to regulate gambling and try to put heavy restrictions or legislation on top of this issue, rather than actually dealing with the root cause of why people are privy or prey or run prey to gambling, which is the things that I've mentioned before? I think those are the issues that we need to really sit and think about, not just as legislators, but as thinkers, Mr. Speaker, because that's why we're here. We are apparently the most brilliant minds in the country, and that's why we have been put here to represent our people. And if we cannot sit and think about the root cause of our issues as a country, rather than always treating the symptoms and slapping a piece of legislation on top of it, then we will never, ever control anything. Nonetheless, gambling is my opinion, Speaker. And even if we go ahead
Senator Mungatana Cherargei and AD, please consult in low tones so that we can hear Senator Crystal. Proceed.
Thank you for protecting me from the members who are consulting. This is a very emotive subject, and I'm sure that they are busy discussing my submission as I speak. Thank you very much, Speaker. I want to just underscore and re-emphasize that we need to think about the root cause, curing that, or preventing the root cause, rather than thinking about how to cure it with a piece of paper and regulations. Speaker, even as a creative, let me speak from the perspective of a creative. We recently, in the last financial bill of last year that was thwarted by protests across the country, Speaker, there was a provision or a proposal to start taxing creatives, the creative industry. And creatives came out in large numbers to say, how can you tax us or regulate us when you haven't created an environment for us to even thrive in the first place? What are you going to tax out of us? Creatives said. And Speaker, that same idea, I will take it not literally, but there are similarities from that to this, which is, why would you want to tax a base of people who clearly are showing symptoms of issues that we have not solved as society? Rather than solving them, we are punishing them for being unemployed, for being addicted to alcohol or drugs or pornography, whatever the case might be, when we haven't actually sat down as thinkers and the most brilliant minds in the country and looked at the research and actually engaged with evidence-based legislation to then realize that, hey, this may not be the actual, or it may not be a sustainable solution to just write a piece of legislation. We need to actually go down to the base, to the core, to the bottom line, which is, why are our people feeling the need to continue to gamble their lives, their assets, their dreams, their possessions away, instead of looking for earnest work, looking to cure their mental illness, looking to address their addictions, looking to stop watching pornography. Mr. Speaker, for me, that is something that is poignant, and I had laid it out very clearly when we looked into this bill in the Labour Committee. It's still the case now, even though there's mediated version, which has not really addressed that same question, which is maybe philosophical, but still has to be answered by somebody. And I would have hoped that this mediated version or this committee would have addressed those kinds of issues rather than slapping us with yet another piece of legislation which may never, ever solve our problem and never bring any kind of control to gambling. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Andrew Omtata.
I'll be very brief and presidential. First of all, this is a bad bill. Technical area without any scientific study having preceded it. And that is why the problem is. The root cause of gambling is a misconception that there's a shortcut, it is a shortcut to making wealth. There's a shortcut to creating wealth. And in a country like Kenya now, where there is to make a shilling has become very difficult, you can see the way that this thing has mushroomed across. And maybe we may need to withdraw this bill, have a proper study on what is driving this issue, and then come up with scientific solutions. When I look through this bill, I don't see anything that is scientific about it, and I don't see any solution proffered. Yes, there's need for regulation, but by doing what? There's need for education, but by doing what? There's need for so many interventions, but by doing what? So I think, Mr. Speaker, this bill, though a good idea, but it's not being done well. And as a student of St. Thomas Aquinas, My position is that if something is worth doing, it's worth doing well. This bill is badly done, though we need an intervention in the problems facing us with gambling, but this bill is not the solution. Mr. Senator Mungatana did not support the bill. He recognized that there was a bill, but I didn't say he did not support it. He recognized that there was a bill. And for me, Mr. Speaker, in the absence of a serious study, we are really groping in the dark, and we are likely to make a bad situation worse, thinking that we are doing something to improve it. So I would say that this bill be withdrawn and a proper study be conducted by the state. Then from that study, the state can bring us a bill that can address the issues in the industry. Because you have seen even situations like, if you look at all the adverts on gambling, when you look at all the adverts on gambling, they promise quick wealth. Yes. They don't promise anything else. It's not refreshing your mind, it's not a pastime, but you're going to get rich at the end of the day. As they say, leo hustler, kesho sonko, kind of transformations. So I would pray that this bill be withdrawn, or if it's not withdrawn, we vote it out, and then give that, leave the door open for a better, well-researched, and well-reasoned bill to come before us, one that can then exercise our minds. Really, right now, we are just not well informed to make a decision. And with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, sir, I personally reject the bill. Thank you.
Honourable Senators, there being no other senators wishing to contribute, I call the mover to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to appreciate the following colleagues who have contributed to this bill: Senator Cherargei, Senator Faki, Senator Mungatana, Senator Ledama Olekina, the majority leader of this House, Senator Aaron Cheriot, Senator Eddie Okech, Senator Crystal Asige, and last but not least, the Honorable Senator Okia Omtata. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the mover of this motion, the Honorable Senator Chesang, I would like to echo largely what part of the sentiments by the colleagues who've talked into this bill, to the extent that we are living in a global society, Mr. Speaker, and we will not bury our heads in the sand to say that gambling and betting-related activities do not happen. It might be a tall order to say we will largely manage to regulate the process, but, Mr. Speaker, we must start from somewhere. And where we are is the beginning of that decision to try to regulate and to try to make it at least be something that we can speak about and regulate by making sure that this law passes. This law, Mr. Speaker, is not only about gambling. It's got so many other aspects in it. We are aware that we've got the National Lottery Act of 2023, that this law speaks to it. We've got so many other regulations. And what the amended version of this, or rather mediated version of this law, Mr. Speaker, is trying to achieve is to end protect me from.
Allow Senator Sigei to make his submissions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that protection.
You're distracting him.
What I wanted to say, Mr. Speaker, is that what we are desiring to do in this mediated version of the bill is to ensure that we strengthen the penalties that are going to be meted upon those who, for instance, participate or be involved in activities gambling without the license. For example, Mr. Speaker, we have in the mediated version of the bill enhanced the penalty in form of penalties or fine that one can be imposed to over 3 million Kenya shillings and 5 million Kenya shillings, which is an improvement from what previously existed, because without any fine or any penalty, of course, Mr. Speaker, no one will see any reason to be deterred from conducting activities gambling without the license. Mr. Speaker, earlier on, the Honorable Senator Cherargei, which is what I wanted to inform him, and I'd like to take the opportunity to correct the misrepresentation that the particular timelines within which not timeline, sorry, but the amount that one can bet on is not 1 shilling. In fact, the committee, Mr. Speaker, enhanced the amount to Kenya shillings 20 as a means of ensuring that whoever participates in gambling must be someone who would obviously be someone of age, because if you reduce it to Kenya shillings 1, every other person, including young children, can access that amount and can gamble with it. And Mr. Speaker, in terms of the timelines that the bill provides for advertisements by the media houses, the watershed moments is, Mr. Speaker, between 10 p.m. in the night and 5 a.m. That serves the purpose that the Honorable Senator Cherargei and the rest of my colleagues who said that we regulate, because if we don't do it, it's still going on. And we are living in a global society, Mr. Speaker, where although we would want to discourage as much as possible our young ones because of mental effects of gambling and also the consequences that comes with it, we cannot run away from the fact that this is a global thing that other regimes have attempted to regulate but have not been able to. This is an opportunity that we've gotten. And although we have not been able to ensure that we get to the right situation which members would have desired in terms of regulation, it is an attempt that going forward we have enacted a law that will give us a platform either to continuously improve that law so that we at the end of the day are able to speak to a regulated activity, which in this case will enhance also the support that we are saying, discourage Kenyans, discourage everyone else from undertaking such vices. But for those who have already been put into this, not necessarily residents within Kenya, but those who are outside, but online, and they are Kenyans whom we must also speak to, we are able to support them in a manner that this law is trying to do. We are legislating for posterity, Mr. Speaker. We are not legislating merely because we've got to do it, such that even if we are not supporting gambling, there must be a law in place. And that is exactly what we are saying. Notwithstanding our differences, our challenges with this particular activity, we must have a law in place. And so, even as I reply, I want to urge the honorable members of this House to support it. And for those improvements that we are saying we need to make, it gives us a room to amend the law. And in the process of amending the law, we also go beyond the law itself and create an environment that will help Kenyans, those who are gambling, those who have been addicted, those who have been affected by gambling activities, to also get an opportunity to undertake an understanding of how else can they exit the vice, rather than just saying, we do not want it, we do not want the law, yet the law, or rather gambling in itself, is existing, it's cutting across, and it cannot be ignored. And that is why I want to encourage members to support. And Mr. Speaker, I wish to support, and pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 626.3, I request to defer putting of the question to a later date. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Putting of the question has been deferred. Honorable Senators, looking at the order paper, we will have to defer order number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Clerk, call the next order.
Order number 18, the county government's additional allocations. Number 2 bill, Senate Bills number 8 of 2025. Second reading, resumption of debate.
Senator Mungatana, I think you were on the floor of the House when this matter was being debated. you have a remainder of 12 minutes to continue with your submission.
I think Senator Sige is saying something. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. I want to use this one. Can I be given this? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was on my feet yesterday seconding the bill that had been moved by Honorable, our Chief Whip, Senator Mheshimiwa Boni Khalwale. And Mr. Speaker, I was at the point where I say this bill has 12 clauses. And the last clause talks about criminalization of financial misconduct. And this is criminalization of those officers who are told, Senate has given this schedule, and you are supposed to abide by this schedule so that the counties can get the money on time, and they don't do it, and they don't have any consequences. Mr. Speaker, I was saying, as I second this bill, that it is my hope and sincere hope that in this financial year that we are starting, when these violations are gross, then the responsible officers who delay the funding of counties, Mr. Speaker, who refuse to follow what the Senate has said as far as funding of county timeously is concerned, there will be criminal consequences for them as envisaged in this county government additional allocation bill that we are passing today. Mr. Speaker, those who are listening to me, they must know that in the Senate, we provide three main ways in which we fund county government activities. The first one is the second one is the equalization fund that we have passed, and we were debating it here yesterday, and we're waiting to vote on it. And this is the third one, where we pass the county government's additional allocations that are supposed to go to the county government. Mr. Speaker, in these additional allocations, we have two main categories. The first is the unconditional additional allocation. And these ones, the funds that come from the unconditional additional allocations to the counties, they come from revenues that have been collected from the courts and the court fines. When any county passes its laws and there is a contravention of those laws, the counties are supposed to put fines on those people who contravene their laws so that they can generate wealth. This money is collected and is put together, and when we pass here, every county is given its share. So I needed to say this very quickly, that counties that have not developed their own version of city courts, because like here in Nairobi, we have what we call city court. In the city court, when you are found by the county askaris that you haven't paid, take you and fine you there, and you pay so that the county government then creates a source of fund. I'm saying this to all Kenyans and to all county governments. Please develop the court systems in your counties, because there are counties that are not supporting the collection of these revenues. And as a result, Mr. Speaker, you will find very little money coming as collection back to the county revenue fund. Mr. Speaker, the other issue that is under this, that is the unconditional allocation of funds from the from this bill. This one comes from the 20% revenues of the royalties that have been collected across the country. Mr. Speaker, we want, and I want to use this opportunity to request that all the counties that have minerals and other resources that come from the ground, which can be mined, we are asking the minister in charge of this, the Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, to do what he can within his powers to make sure that these resources are developed. And I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, because in Tana River County, for example, when the minister took over, he said that the gypsum mining in that county is not controlled, and he suspended everything. And Mr. Speaker, what that means is that there's no gypsum mining activities going on. Now, if the minister does not create a framework in which that mining can go on, then it means the royalties that we were expecting to get from this unconditional remittance of funds back to the county will be reduced. So I'm asking through this platform that you create the regulatory framework and help the people of Tana River to get back to that resource exploitation in an organized manner, because it was not very organized at the beginning, and that's why we supported your move to suspend the mining activities. But we want to go back, because this is one of the sources of unconditional transfers of monies back to the county. And Mr. Speaker, there is another problem at the Treasury, which we are asking the minister to also look at. Treasury for a very long time keeps on giving excuses when it comes to remittances of these 20% royalties back to county. For example, for Taita Taveta County, for Kwale County, even for Tana River County, to access the monies that are supposed to be coming from royalties. Mr. Speaker, even Kilifi County, these are the coastal counties that have mineral resources. And Mr. Speaker, you will find that Treasury continuously creates hurdle after hurdle. Even when we have passed it here in the Senate, and we are saying that the 20% mineral royalty share must come to the counties, they create hurdles and make it difficult for counties. Mr. Speaker, in this financial year 2025-2026, as we pass this law, we want to ask the Treasury, please do the right thing. Stop frustrating counties. When this schedule that we have passed, and it is passed and it becomes law, you should be able to obey it and give the counties what they deserve in terms of their funds. Mr. Speaker, I have said that these government additional allocations, they come through the unconditional, and number two, through the conditional grants that are supposed to come to the counties. Mr. Speaker, the conditional allocations that come to the counties are in two portions. The first portion is the conditional allocations that the national government gives to counties so that the share of the counties from the revenues of the government are accessed to these counties, so that although these monies have been allocated to the national government, they are actually transferred back to the to the county governments. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to urge that we treat this bill with the seriousness that it deserves, and we fast track it. Why I say this is because the national government will not release the monies to the counties that belong to money that was sent for doctors. The arrears of monies payable to doctors through the collective bargaining agreement, those who have not been paid, it is contained in this bill. That's why we need to hurry up and pass it. Mr. Speaker, the conditional allocation for the community health promoters, the CHPs, is also contained in this bill. So that, Mr. Speaker, the monies that the national government, the portion, the share that the national government is supposed to give is also contained in this bill. Mr. Speaker, the conditional allocation for the construction of county headquarters, which include county headquarters like Tana River, Nyandarua, Lamu, and the other two, are contained in this bill. So the national government, through this bill, after we pass it, will be now in a position to transfer these funds to the relevant county government. And these amounts are contained in Schedule 2 of this bill. Mr. Speaker, the conditional allocations to the county aggregated and industrial park program that is set out in column D is also contained in these funds, in this bill. Mr. Speaker, you will remember that the president during his campaigns, he had said that every county must have an industrial park, and each industrial park will be sponsored partly by the government, national government share, and there will be also a share by the county governments. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, there are counties that have not been able to do their industrial parks. And the reason is that these funds have not been released to them. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm urging honorable members and colleagues here that we do what we can to vote this bill as fast as we can, so that these funds, these conditional grants from the national government, especially to counties like ourselves, where we are supposed to get the headquarters, and other counties, that these monies will be fast-tracked, the national government will be able to release these funds, and they will be able to be utilized by county governments. Mr. Speaker, as I take my seat, I urge colleagues that when it comes to these funds, our county governments are waiting for them. We should do everything possible to pass this as we put a caution on our governors across the country.
Thank you. Your time is up, Senator. Thank you. Honorable Senators, I will now propose the question that the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill number 2, Senate Bills number 8 of 2025 be now read a second time. Senator Cheriot.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill, Mr. Speaker, the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill. An important bill which we must give history for our colleagues to recall and remember how it came about. You know, yesterday I got into a lot of trouble, Mr. Speaker, for relaying very useful information which I thought would have helped one of our colleagues here. And they said, while they disagree with it, they went to say many other things. But I think history is important, Mr. Speaker, and people must understand the perspective. I continue to be proud of the work that we did in the Budget and Finance Committee in the time when I was a member in the last two Senates, Mr. Speaker. This is one of the signature bills of that committee. And the thinking, I don't know if members do know this, is that many times in this space of conditional and unconditional grants to our county governments, Mr. Speaker, there used to be unregulated. And therefore, what will happen is that you'll find that some mandarins will sit at Treasury and decide that there is an international agency like Danida, which has come, and they would say, oh, we want to support a particular thematic area with regards to county governments. Therefore, the mandarins in Treasury, Mr. Speaker, I don't know who they are, but I just hear the mandarins there. I thought my interaction with them has left me with a good impression that they're just good citizens. But anyway, I'm just being your average Kenyan, Mr. Speaker. So they would determine where to place those projects. And many times, we found out that those projects were specifically positioned in certain counties with no regards to any scientific evidence, Mr. Speaker, or framework of where to follow. So you'd say, oh, we want to pilot. In fact, the easiest way to do it would say, they would say that we are piloting this project. And do you realize that the piloting phase would always be done in particular counties? And there are counties which stood absolutely no chance, especially those that come from regions that were considered to be politically incorrect at the time, Mr. Speaker. And so we sat down as a committee and we said, this is actually us who have derelicted on duty. We checked out on the people that sent us to Parliament, and that's why these things are happening. And so from around the year 2020 or 21, I don't recall the specific year, we said even additional allocation to the county governments, Mr. Speaker, must pass through a particular framework. And that is the basis upon which you have this county government additional allocation bill, Mr. Speaker. It's a subset of CARA, but only that it carries any other additional resources that are going to our county governments, Mr. Speaker, and the justification being provided therein, so that you are able to read and understand, Mr. Speaker, and appreciate that this is the amount, this is why this county is getting, this is why this county is not getting. Like Senator Mungatana, who seconded this bill, mentioned, for example, if there is no mineral activity of note in your county, then you don't expect to benefit anything from the, I think in this year's additional allocation, Mr. Speaker, is for mineral rights, actually, Mr. Speaker, is 2.93 billion. And this is money that has accrued from 2016. You know, sometimes I get surprised, Senator Mungatana, people tell us, oh, this administration doesn't care for devolution. If those that were there previously cared for devolution, why did money from the mineral rights stay in the coffers of the National Treasury from 2016 up to date, Senator Mungatana? Why is it that it is only in this financial year that you're eventually saying, what doesn't belong to the national government, send it to the counties? And additionally, many other funds that are listed. This is part of the 20% share of the mineral royalties that is due to counties, as per Section 183.5 of the of the Mining Act, Cap 306, which stipulates that 20% of mineral royalties will be paid to the state shall accrue to the county government where the mining operations occur. And it should be of interest to you, Senator Mungatana, I think even Senator Umtata, even Cherargei, Senator, there is significant mining activity in your county. It is important that we put proper framework for that particular space. There's a lot of artisanal mining activities across the western belt. If you overfly Busia, Migori, Siaya, Kisumu, you'll see some round holes with water filled inside. Then some young men will be running around there with sacks, trying to shake them the whole day and saying that eventually they will get some piece of gold. As leaders, we ought to be concerned and say, we cannot allow our people to live like this 60 years after independence. And I appreciate Senator Boni Halwale doesn't mention this. Nowadays, he has conveniently forgotten, and he's not here. That initially, in his good days, before certain things happened, which I'm yet to know, he would always remind us that the largest gold refinery ever built in the Republic of Kenya is being built in Ikolomani, not Kakamega, Ikolomani, where he comes from. But nonetheless, that while that is being done, the same needs to be replicated across all our counties actually that have presence of minerals, Mr. Speaker, because this 20% from the mineral rights, Mr. Speaker, is a significant amount of money. And if we are able to grow that sector, Mr. Speaker, and ensure that it earns the country a significant amount, because it's not for lack of good amount of minerals, Mr. Speaker, that Mr. Speaker, that our country doesn't have a mature mining subsector. It is a fact that we have not created a proper regulation of that environment to attract investment. If you want to carry out significant, why all the serious players in the mining sector will never come to a country like Kenya, Mr. Speaker, is because of the difficulties that it will take. First of all, to secure community rights is a problem. Senator Eddie will show up with his sangwenyas and say, oh, this land belongs to us. This man cannot mine until, I don't know, they do this. Then Cherargei will also come with his demands to the new investor. Until we get to a point of appreciating that no investor will come into our country where the laws don't protect them and therefore provide a clear path for them to recoup their investment, Mr. Speaker, we are never going to develop this particular sector. We must clean up the Mining Act, Mr. Speaker, so that we make it business friendly. We make it possible to attract the big players in the mining sector globally, Mr. Speaker. The minute they will appreciate and they will know that this is a country governed by the rule of law, and as an investor, my rights are protected, then they will invest here and they will be able to provide opportunity in terms of employment and even resources, Mr. Speaker, to both the county and the national government, Mr. Speaker. I was just speaking about that 20% share of the mineral rights because it's part and parcel of what our counties are benefiting from. It's only a paltry 2.9 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. And like I've mentioned, this is a crude amount for a significant number of years, which tells you that if you want to know how much was paid as mineral royalties for the last, I don't know how many number of years, you just need to multiply that figure by 5 times. It gives you almost 15 billion shillings. I believe strongly that the country can earn upwards, perhaps even 10 times of that particular figure. And that is a challenge that we must pose to the new leadership at the helm of the Ministry of Mining. The Cabinet Secretary must give us a roadmap. You heard what Senator Mungatana said about gypsum, Mr. Speaker. That is actually driving up the cost of cement, because now people, the minute we banned the mining of gypsum locally, Mr. Speaker, people have to import from countries as far as Tanzania. And it's not that we don't have that raw material available in the country. It is just because we cannot agree on how to run that particular trade. How long does it take the Ministry of Mining to make the decision? You register. Those that have got sites sign up their contracts with their forwarding contracts with where they are taking those minerals, Mr. Speaker. If we continue to take the length of time that you are taking to make those decisions, no investor will invest in this particular sector. The bill in total, Mr. Speaker, distributes close to 70 billion across our counties, Mr. Speaker, which includes even money in form of court fines, Mr. Speaker, which is 9.95, oh, actually 9.9, I'm struggling to get the exact figure. Oh yeah, the 2.95 actually is from court fines and mineral royalties. There is 9.95 billion from the national government share of the second schedule and 5.9 from proceeds of loans and grants from development partners, which is the third schedule. All these things that are listed, and you know them. There are quite a number of them, and I have always questioned, why do these loans and grants, Mr. Speaker, take the form and shape that they take? There is even a proposal also on the community health promoters, 3.24 billion, Mr. Speaker. There is 454 million to 5 counties. I must register my disappointment, Mr. Speaker. You know, it was a very difficult task, I remember, here in 2016, to convince the House to build headquarters for 5 counties. Isiolo, Nyandarua, Tana River, Lamu, and I don't know which other one. Tharaka Nithi, actually. And there was a debate in the House because people say we have needs also in our own county. But then good reason prevailed, and people agreed and said, given that these counties actually did not have district headquarters back in the day, they don't have even basic infrastructure to set up. And therefore, over the years, we have continued to pay. It has taken inordinately long to complete that payment, Mr. Speaker. But I was disturbed that recently, it was just 2 days after we had made the decision to add Nyandarua, one, into the list of the counties that are benefiting under the affirmative action. You remember there were 12 counties that we created that were getting less than 6 billion shillings, and we said we need to find a way of bringing them closer to the rest of the counties, and therefore we developed a list of 20 counties and built it into the formula, the 4th generation formula that is now available. So it's the second time that Nyandarua is benefiting from an affirmative action exercise, and I wish Senator Methu was here when I'm speaking about this, because I have a message for him individually as a leader and for the people of Nyandarua. Then secondly, you have seen that that was not the first time. They are benefiting from this 454 million. When we had demonstrations recently, a whooping, I think, 35 county governments' vehicles, together with the same headquarters that we had given to them under affirmative action, was raised down by protesters, Mr. Speaker. So you receive support from the rest of the country, that they appreciate that you have unique challenges. Then in the spirit of madness that captures and is urged on by certain lost characters, Mr. Speaker, clever by half fools who think that by inciting young people to burn around their country, they'll pass a message of dissatisfaction, you burn the entire building together with 40 vehicles. That was really unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. Yet, these are part of the resources that we are distributing. There's also money to KIPES. You remember there are counties that had not benefited equally. This is the 250 share contribution. I am not sure, and the Vice Chair is here of Budget and Finance Committee. I'm not sure whether this 4.5 billion now clears the list of the remaining counties. Because remember last financial year, I think about 30